This audio presentation of Spiritual Reconstruction by Mary Bruce Wallace is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2013. All rights reserved. Introduction. Our last message to earth has reached many and is bringing forth fruit in the hearts and lives of those to whom it was sent. This little book is for the present day and hour. It will be best understood by those who have read the previous message, for it speaks to all who are seeking the good of humanity. Although simple in language, it contains far-reaching truth, as most will perceive. The truth of life can be perceived everywhere by the spiritually minded, but it is more than knowledge of life, or even of God, that is required of you. It is rather that God may give expression to these truths through human channels, that you may show forth His glory, that your life may be as light in the darkness. To enter the kingdom within you requires the heart and the mind of the child. The cosmos is full of order, and in spite of seeming discord, there is not a sparrow, not the teeniest atom of life, outside a divine and beneficent law, which is in its highest essence love. Consequently, your place, your work, your very being are of the utmost importance of life. Even your thought makes a difference to future worlds. The value of a soul is supreme. To the great Master Jesus, the truth of being was not a complex science. It was a simple and beautiful realization of love and order. His great work was to reveal the Father. This is the whole meaning of his life. I and the Father are one, he said. In sending these messages, we are not in any sense your teachers. We are only reminding you of what is known throughout the ages. We are revealing you to your innermost self. God has placed man so high that he is the channel along which the unmanifest becomes manifest. The Absolute reveals spiritual, creative substance. By apprehending the innermost of yourself, you attain to Christhood, and so perceive in Jesus the great ideal for the human race. The witness of the Spirit within yourself is all sufficient, and not dependent on book or teacher. Nevertheless, it includes all inspiration, revelation, and teaching. At this stage of the evolution of the race, we have one urgent message. Go back to the beginning, God, and so begin this fresh cycle with the accumulated experiences of the last, striking fresh roots, and going deeper into the essence of things. So will you evolve a fuller and a richer life, the absolute and the eternal. Thus, in all your coming experiences, you will reveal to the world the power and might of the creative energy on the spiritual plane. You will also reveal the love which attains its completeness only when the whole universe breathes forth the life which is love. Chapter 1. Spiritual Reconstruction, the Refining. Verse. But all through life I see a cross, where sons of God yield up their breath. There is no gain except by loss. There is no life except by death. Ulrich Grange. Your plane is undergoing great purification. Never in the world's history has there been so much self-sacrifice or action the outcome of such high motives. We are not now considering the cause of the present crisis. We know that you are being set free, that the old limitations have passed away forever. There has been a great manifestation of selfless love, which has made all things possible for you in the days to come. Some of the finest and purest have left your plane to work with us here for your uplifting and purification. You will feel the might of the invisible all about you. Out of darkness, light will break forth. You are on the threshold of fresh revelations. Before you are vast tracts of consciousness to be explored. A way has been made for you by the rich offering of life, by the love which gives up all in order to give itself. By these things you are enriched. Your very suffering will enable you to enter into joy and freedom. Your loved ones are safe and very near to you in these days. There is no such thing as death, for God is your life. There is no place where God is not. The veil between us is thinner than it ever was. We can reach you as never before. Mighty hosts from our side have been with your men on the fields of battle. Old leaders have returned with clarified vision and purified motives. Many times they have changed the whole issue of events for you. They know that the defeat of your enemies will work for the ultimate good of the German peoples. Only for the good of all will you be allowed to win. God is on the field of battle, and loving ministrations of heavenly helpers are with the wounded and passing souls. They press me now to tell you that all is well. Have courage. We can and do help you. Consequently, refrain from mourning. You are in God, and God is in you. Whither shall I go from thy presence? If I ascend into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning, and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Deep within yourself is that eternal, unchanging Spirit, which is indestructible and pure. Seek above all else to know more of this deep, hidden center within. By knowledge of this pure self, you will discover your true relationship with all life, and realize in very truth that you all may be made perfect. End of chapter. Chapter 2. He made darkness his hiding place. Verse. And that cloud itself, which now before thee lies dark in view, shall with beams of light from the inner glory be stricken through. Whittier. Do not be afraid of the disintegrating period. It is necessary at the end of an old, outworn civilization. Out of the ruins new life will arise. This means preparation for a great forward move in your evolution. Out of the present conflict will issue great good. Right conditions must be made for the new race, which has so long been evolving out of the old. You know and feel that the old is passing, that a fresh manifestation of life and light is at hand. The present crisis is wholly beneficial. The eternal, changeless life cannot be touched. It is the truth behind all the illusion of the sense plane. The Spirit is speaking, giving fresh impetus to life, breathing out the breath of God by which men live. The day of which the poets sing is dawning. Unto you, my friends, do I speak. The Spirit shall illumine all your ways. Love and joy shall be awakened in your heart and shown in your words and in your intercourse with one another. You will manifest something of that warmth and deep joy in your own hearts. You will become so animated, so ravished and transported with this inner spiritual love, that without knowing it, you will yourselves be torch-bearers wherever you go. Walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit in every thought and act of life. Gradually there will come to you other and clearer points of view. A new world will be unfolded along with the power to discern true values, thus affording new insights into much that has bewildered you. There is always another and a deeper meaning in all that takes place on the plane of the senses. Your power of vision will become greater. It will also be permanent and abiding. Your potentialities are tremendous. By obedience to the dictates of the Spirit, you will learn that you possess the swift comprehension of all thought waves, that the all-seeing eye looks through your eyes, and that for beneficent ends you may cooperate with God's will on behalf of others. The true purpose of your life is to create from the spiritual plane, to manifest the things of the Spirit, to bring substance and order on to the sense plane. Unveil your soul that it may help you to attain these ends. You are going to help in this great struggle against stagnation and inertia, to acquire creative faculties from the center of life. I summon you to do the work that you came to do, to let everything go that hinders you in this quest. Be your highest self. When all seems dark, remember the light shineth perpetually. The cloud only veils the Godhead. Moses, who was the great initiate, learned that as he drew near to the thick darkness, he entered the very presence of God. Something of this will be revealed to you as you read and as you think of your troubled earth. A great hope will spring up in proportion as the reason and meaning of this cloud becomes apparent to you. End of chapter. Chapter 3. Heaven is harmony. Verse. By one pervading Spirit, of tones and numbers all things are controlled, as sages taught, where faith was found to merit, initiation in that mystery old. The heavens, whose aspect makes our minds as still as they themselves appear to be. Innumerable voices fill with everlasting harmony. Wordsworth. Since thought was previous to manifestation, you must get back to thought for fresh manifestation. In the sphere of thought and feeling you touch holy and sacred springs. Though having no words, you learn of the true spiritual emotions which precedes the manifestation of the soul's intuition. The highest joy of the soul is to express the spiritual idea. Before the birth of worlds at the creation, the first movement was emotion. True emotion is a transcendent quality and dominates life. Before a man's thought is formulated, if it to be creative, he becomes filled with profound emotion. There is in the soul a stirring too deep for words. You may experience this when listening to a symphony of Beethoven or of any real musician. For the time you are under a higher control, you have come into conscious touch with the transcendent. In reality, you have felt the divine harmony, and the true emotion which precedes creation is yours, and you know then that all things are possible to you. Out of this harmony of soul and spirit, joy is born. We are made for joy, and joy is at the heart of life. We are always seeking it. It is the fountain from the Godhead, ever flowing rich and free. When you attain to ecstasy, you know this. Though you may have had but a gleam, you are aware that it is indestructible and eternal. Music will often lay bare this inner realm because it moves the soul and brings it into touch with the highest vibrations. The worlds were created out of perfect harmony, and when we live harmoniously, we catch the eternal rhythm. It is no mere figure of speech to speak of the music of the spheres, for the whole heavens are filled with melody at the creation of the worlds. True musicians have heard, have felt, have tried to express something of this. Consequently, their music stirs the memory in the soul, which knows the truth of being expressed in the following words. I was set up from everlasting, when there were no depths. I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Joy precedes all birth. You have your own note in these eternal harmonies, and this your soul knows well. We come to help you to recognize within yourself and to reproduce the power to glorify God and enjoy him forever, so that you may sing the song he has put in your mouth. When a deep emotion floods the soul, music fills the mind, hence you get love songs, slogans, chants, and songs of nature. Vibrations born of racial emotions are full of the soul's consciousness and supply us with the key to the thought and feeling of the nations. Music at all times, more than all else, interprets the soul's deepest feelings. In this we find a meaning for yourself. The time has come for the birth of a new consciousness of God. If each individual soul rings true now, the world's soul will be moved. Look towards the dawn with hearts full of faith and hope. The real war is within. Peace is not inertia. Lift up your striving onto a higher plane. There is a reason for the fighting instinct, a deep divine reason, which being but faintly understood is now leading to destruction on the material plane. Reconstruction through obedience to spiritual laws, building on the one true foundation, established the kingdom of Christ. In some measure, it has already begun. I explained in my last book the relation between sound, form, and color. It is true that every spoken word leaves its record in the ether. When you produce a note, there appears a form, surrounded and interpenetrated by color. Here is a clue to life movements, creative forces. At thy word, the worlds were created. Christ is God's word for our earth, and Christ in you is the eternal hope of glory. The soul that is stirred by transcendent emotion is in the creative sphere. It is for you to bring into form your thought, clothed with living light and color, to establish the consciousness which is to be. By using these laws and becoming co-workers with God, you will make for that harmony which is heaven's law. End of chapter. Chapter 4. Building. Verse, ever the rock of ages melts into the mineral air, to be the quarry whence to build, thought and its mansions fair. Emerson. There are plenty of workers for all the outside machinery of life, fresh organizations, new cooperative systems, and unity of leaders in church and state. Now is the moment for reconstruction. Women will be organizers in all the departments to which they have essentially belonged. The framework of life is in preparation. It would all, however, be useless propaganda, and every scheme would fail, but for the hidden work of the Spirit. The first steps must be taken within. There are many of you ready now to devote some part of each day to aiding us in the creation of a new consciousness. Begin with strong faith to proclaim a universal brotherhood. You have thought about it more or less. Now we ask you to be definite and to enter that creative sphere in meditation, making manifest the word which is love. For the creation of this new consciousness, we need men and women free from desire, possessed of pure bodies. There are many such of you who will be helped by our cooperation. Let us join hands and flood these organizations with spiritual life and power. You will see results that will surpass your expectations, since the right time for this great work has come. The people of Russia have awakened. They will teach you many things, and you may look to them for a leader in the near future. They have put away drink, did they but know it. By this action they have prepared a way for the coming race, and brought victory near by vast strides. In accordance with the pure desire of nature, the spiritual forces were allowed freedom of action. This will remove the veils from men's souls, and many will have the open vision. Help all you can by love and faith to show forth the true desires of all nations and the inner Christ. Women have a great work before them, a work they alone can do, and which is typified by the women who ministered at the cross. Through the love of nature will flow the ennobling desire for a pure race, the birthright of the coming children from the higher realms. It is for good women to help their sisters who are in ignorance of all what wifehood and motherhood means, so that they may learn the truth of life and being. There is every reason to expect rapid development. Russia has progressed more during the past 3 years than during the 30 previous years. Never has there been a time in the history of your earth when so much spiritual force was at work. This great upheaval has not been brought about without a purpose. The worst thing that can happen to a nation or a people is a condition of inertia, of materialism. There will be great earth movements later, and the continent will change shape, floods and earthquakes, storm and wind, fulfilling his word. Be not troubled when you see these things. They are the days of the coming of the Son of Man, the new manifestation of God, the establishment of the new kingdom. There will be fewer islands and easier means of reaching other people. Already, Heligoland is disappearing. The air will be the medium of vast enterprise. Beautiful scenery will be within reach of all. The making of the Panama Canal is the beginning of the breaking up of old conditions. The Channel Tunnel is completed. On the higher mental plane, manifestation will follow. An earthquake in France will make a new way possible. The elixir sought of by Pericles will be discovered, also the spiritual force contained in the ether. As man evolves, he will discover that life should be laid down at will, not as a result of disease. End of chapter. Chapter 5. The Coming Race. Verse: In the years that shall be, ye shall harness the powers of the ether, and drive them with reins as a steed. Ye shall ride as a power of the air on the force that is bridled, on a saddled element leap. In that day shall a man out of uttermost India whisper, and in England his friend shall hear. Stephen Phillips. If you could be with me now and see the preparations being made for your earth, you would rejoice. There are glorious beings ready to incarnate in the new race. These are they who have come through great tribulations, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. These mystic terms are used to express the fact that their experiences have been used to cleanse and purify them, and that the Christ nature has made them ready for the Christ life which is to be. Some are already on your earth. They bear the stamp of the new race upon them. The signs are unmistakable. Here are some. These beings are universal and will not make for separation. They will think on a large scale. They will not be minuteness or endless details about their arrangements, but a wide outlook and wise forethought. The end of an experience will be known at its beginning, because they have learned to judge and discriminate. They will live simply and be much in the open air. You have seen and met them. They are growing in numbers. As you near the end of the old cycle, there will be a great quickening. We are using every means to bring the birth this large free life. The colonies of Russia will surprise you with their teachers and prophets. Tolstoy has a vast following and has never ceased to work for Russia. You will understand in these later days events will seem disastrous. This is only an appearance. What is happening is really the breaking up of old conditions, the preparation for a fresh influx of life and light. This new wine needs new bottles. A day is approaching when the sign of men shall cease, and the glory of a great hope shall shine in the midst of them. For there shall be brought to fruition in outward manifestation the new earth now revealed within the heart. The children of the near future will realize your highest ideals and noblest aspirations, for your thoughts are now making the conditions of their appearance. In their turn they will serve the highest on yet higher planes of being, and so lift the race into the richer consciousness of God. They will have new spiritual powers and will discover the true laws of gravitation. With their lighter, more ethereal bodies, they will draw to themselves the finer elements in the atmosphere, and by this means will annihilate the cloudy vapors of disease and ignorance on the plains of illusion. Breathing the self-sustaining breath and using the ether for the refining of the physical atoms, less material and more spiritual, they will penetrate those plains now open only to a few. By aspiration and holy effort, man will truly discover himself to be a little lower than the angels, crowned with glory and honor. Dwelling in the Spirit, you see even now in your midst the interaction between soul and body, the thought and its expression. There is a deep seriousness growing, a searching after the root cause of many false conditions, such as has never been seen before. Humanity wants truth and righteousness for all. The evolving souls are already wearied out by the illusions of the separate self-life. By faith you will see and enter into the promised land and never want to go back into the old grooves again. Draw water from the living wells of truth and thus open in yourselves and the universe the door of the pure love life. So shall we rise together in our desire to unfold the glorious possibilities to those now in the state of limitation. Whenever the clouds of sense gather about you, pierce through with your soul forces and rise above the depression. By so doing, you really make light and joy for many. We know that all who read this little book may be lifted into the strength and glory of this new and living way, raised into the larger life of God here and now. For this present time of stress, remember, there is with you and in you one who said, "When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. The floods shall not overwhelm thee." Old age, with its fears and its morbid beliefs in the wickedness of human nature and the exceeding sinfulness of sin, is passing forever. All dread of the future, of punishment and of death, must be put away from your thoughts, that the true life, the living Christ, may reign and put these enemies under his feet. Life builds, and its buildings are eternal, containing no element of destruction, but ever making all things anew. I am come that they may have life, abundant life, in all its fullness. Rich life currents engulf your whole being. Respond to their energy. Be one with them. Abandon yourself and drink of their life-giving stream. The Spirit in you seeks its complete union with the whole of life, love with heart, soul, and mind. Thus shall every avenue be open to the life that hath its breath and being in yourself. These are most surely the true reconstructive steps from the heart of life, the holiest and highest preparation for you, the pure race that shall be reborn in your midst from the sphere of love and unity. With them life is consciously one, and separation an illusion of the senses. They are filled with the fullness of God. He hath ascended far above all heavens, that he might fill all things, unto the measure and the stature of the fullness of Christ. All that the Father hath is mine, is thine, says the great teacher. Place before yourself the high calling of Jesus the Christ, and you will not fail to set in motion silent, subtle, irresistible force, which shall recharge the world with the Christ energy. Do not look back, but up and on, full of courage, but build with your thought and your imagination that which shall be. Take the forces of life at your disposal and reconstruct, stone by stone, the great universal temple, which shall have one foundation, the foundation of the eternal Christ. End of chapter. Chapter 6, Hail Mary. Verse, And I say there is nothing greater than the mother of men. And how do you know who shall come from the offspring of his offspring through the centuries? If anything is sacred, the human body is sacred. Walt Whitman. It is highly important that you learn to control the physical body for the benefit of the future race and for the higher work which lies before you. It was never intended that you should be in bondage to physical conditions. We on this side have great reverence for the mothers of the unborn. They are often surrounded by heavenly beings who shield and defend the coming child. The mother is very susceptible to higher influences during these months of preparation, and we help her to keep an environment of purity and mental strength. All should take part in this by means of protective thought and prayer. She is a sacred symbol of the divine feminine, and will ultimately lead us back to the motherhood of God. There are bands of us sent out to minister to lonely ones who think they are separated from those dear to them. They must have special help, as they are of much value to your earth in this work of reconstruction. I have just come from work of this kind, and I ask your help. As I so often tell you, we can do much, but it is you who have the physical voice and touch. Express love in the highest degree of which you are capable, and you will be fulfilling the law and revealing within yourself rich spiritual gifts. Love is healing. It dissipates the clouds of darkness and despair. I have been helping along with others in France. I may tell you of one instance, in which love healed the soul and saved it from despair. We felt a call of the Spirit and came at once in answer. A woman sat in deep mourning, weeping bitterly and weighed down with grief. By her side, but invisible to her, knelt her husband, trying to comfort her and making great efforts to reach her thoughts. But at each recollection of him she wept afresh, until at last the bewildered soldier looked upward with heartbreak manifestation in face and voice and prayed, "O God, help us. Tell her I am alive and that our child must be born. Help us both for Christ's sake." Then one of our number swiftly drew near and smiled with confidence at the man, who was greatly relieved by this answer to his prayer. He was grateful to the sweet presence so full of loving sympathy, so human and possessed of such true womanly instinct. My friend quickly saw that the strongest influence in the woman's life had been her own mother's love. So she put her hand lovingly on the weeping woman's shoulder and changed the thought vibration by reminding her strongly of her mother. Thereupon she looked up and became aware of a presence in the room. She next thought of her mother was standing before her and began to pour forth her heart's sorrow. This in itself began the healing. Memories touched by this vibration of the mother comforting the little childless griefs came crowding in, awakening in her heart her own responsibility towards the unborn. At this point the husband was able to reach her with an assurance of his love, reminding her of the child they had talked of and prayed for together. Soon the temptation to give up all and to die disappeared. We all helped to strengthen her love and faith in God. She prayed quietly for a moment, then looked up and said, "I will live for his sake, for his great love." At this the husband smiled and seemed contented. Our helpers have been much with her, and not long ago this fine French girl gave birth to one who has come to help France. The husband is now in a better and a higher position, able to protect his wife and the child. He will help them both to attain to his and their own ideals. Life is full of order if you could see it as a whole and not in phases. Only keep your faith in the great love. End of chapter. Chapter 7. The Cleansed Temple. Verse. By one's self is evil done, and by one's self one suffer. By one's self evil is left undone, and by one's self one is purified. Purity and impurity belong to oneself. No one can purify another. Buddhist scripture. Cleanse your hearts and not your garments, that you may have the mind of Christ. Make room for love, that it may cleanse and purify the thought. Christ in the heart is the true life principle, the means by which the infinite intelligence communicates with us all. The mind which is pure is open at all times to the purest. As you begin to cleanse the mind, you realize what a great work this is. To turn out the storehouse of memory, you will have to strike at the roots of the old race consciousness. Every day this will be necessary in thought, act, and speech. The best and the highest way to begin is to recognize the eternal presence, the I Am. You have no past records. All your knowledge of life and being is in the divine intelligence. Remember this all day long, and you create unconsciously an atmosphere of love and purity. Whenever your thoughts turn to the nations at war with us, send out love. Every love thought kills the thought of hate, for love is the weapon it wins. You will love your enemies. These words may seem very simple to you, but let them be in your lives as positive truth. God grant it. There is so much waiting to be done, real work of the Spirit. But you cannot do such work without preparation. You are in the world for the purpose of manifesting the works of God. Think of this, and you will see the need for a pure heart and mind. Do not be misled by any man-made laws. Ask of that highest self within what the word treason really means, and you will learn that it is disloyalty to truth. the denial of Christ. There is no other treason than this, and a man's foes are those of his own environment over which he should have supreme command. A most subtle enemy is discouragement. The voice of the Spirit says, "Be not dismayed, fear not. Be strong and of good courage. Let God arise in thee, and his enemies shall be scattered. Christ shall be magnified in thee." The only true patriotism is that all men may acknowledge one King, the eternal Christ of God. You will need all your courage and faith for the coming days. After the crucifixion, the nations are in great fear. The vibrations of these tremendous forces in the spiritual realm will cause great disruption on the material plane, because there will be a complete change in the all old world schemes. Fresh methods, finer resources will be brought to bear on material conditions, and much that has seemed of considerable importance will be entirely subordinated to the more necessary and vital concerns of life. Men and women will be more ready for partnership and cooperation. Children will have the education most helpful for their future and for the good of the whole. The day is dawning, and those who dwell in the innermost must keep watch before the sanctuary of the heart. As a nation, you have made the great sacrifice for purification. Now is the time to root out all these secret sins and vices which sap the vitality of the people. It is far better for men to fall by the sword than to lose truth and purity. End of chapter. Chapter 8, Ringing the New. Verse, God is the parent of men. He is compassionate and unwearied in blessing. He inspects kingdoms and makes no mistake. Clear-seen and intelligent, he dwells with men in all their actions. Chinese scripture. The first steps have been taken for the great uplifting of the world. By putting away the old race consciousness, you soon learn that all your religious teaching has vanished. So closely interwoven with the race memory in the subconscious deeps had it become. You are in the world of thought alone with the Absolute, wherefrom everything of real worth has been evolved. All that ever was is now yours in all its purity. You are his eternal Christ idea. Set your face towards the future and the kingdom that is to be. The symbols shown in all religions are essentially the same. Renunciation and sacrifice are continually being repeated with higher meanings in each cycle. There is always the same root idea: pure unselfishness and sacrificial love. The Holy Spirit is the breath of God by which men live. Even if you had no memory of these things, they are forever in the eternal mind and inseparable from evolution. It is all true as the mystics show. They are inner experiences of every life. This is a message of Jesus. This great teacher rose to divine consciousness on behalf of the human race and revealed by these holy acts the spiritual idea of the eternal Christ. You have long since learned that nothing eternal avails. All evolution springs from within. This does not make for isolation, but rather for union with all. No man can live to himself. This is an impossibility, as the whole race is one, and any spiritual attainment focused in you is spiritually available for all. Although some may receive illumination sooner than others, all are enriched. The soul of life is about to become manifest, and in the fullness of time, that which Jesus came to teach will be realized by the whole race. Prepare ye the way for his Holy One. Make the place of his feet glorious. The Christ of theology has taught many things, but the Christ within is the greatest revealer that will teach you all things, and bring to remembrance your pre-existence before the world was. You cannot attain Christhood in any other way. Get back to your source and center, the I Am, and learn your true descent. Get a vision of your high destiny, and in patience possess your soul. End of chapter. Chapter 9. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only. Verse, Be noble, and the nobleness that lies in other men sleeping but never dead will rise in majesty to meet thine own. Thou see it gleam in many eyes. Lowell. Your heaven is here, your hell is here, and every intermediate state of existence is here. The Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit, work through the individual human soul, which is so precious to the heart of love and necessary to the whole body of life. Get free from the plane of illusion. so that the soul set free may mount on the two wings of simplicity and purity, and in thy flesh shalt thou see God, with thine own eyes, not with another's. We want to reveal the higher possibilities of the Christian life. So many good people, having gained the inner assurance of their own salvation, feel that henceforth their work must be to show others by preaching and teaching that they too can be saved and live through all eternity. This is not the whole aim and end of the Christian teaching. It means vastly more, as is intimated constantly in the words of Jesus, who spoke of the bread of life and the well of living water, and who also said, I have many things to show you, but ye cannot bear them now. Conversion is turning towards the path so that you may enter the door which leads to the way, the truth, and the life. The time has come for great revelation. The inner word, the vital principles of Christianity are about to be realized, and much help will be given from higher sources, the object being that you may see the deeper meaning behind the existing word. Your message to others will convey more than a concern for their personal safety or future happiness. Indeed, they have never been lost. They remain unawakened and in the miry clay of materialism. It is high time to awake out of the sleep in the sense world. As disciples of the Master, you must help them to unveil a light within, that they may be helped here and now and not in some distant future. Your life is hid with Christ and God, and all things are yours. As partakers of his divine nature, are you healing the sick? Are you giving sight to the blind? Are you giving any evidence to the world of ignorance and pain that you are a co-worker with God? We see that the time has come for this God manifestation. Seek to know more of the Christ principles, and you shall surely find the light. Do not fail your brethren in these days of great need. We are helping you by preparing the hearts and minds of the people, so that they may be more receptive and ready to listen to this message and open their minds to fresh ideas. The will of God operates through you for humanity. In these days there is a readiness to rebuild in every branch of human activity, but unless you begin from root causes, your work will not last. Love must take the place of greed, and all the outer channels of service must have as their basis righteousness and truth. Your earth has passed through the refiner's fire, and the present suffering will not be in vain if a repetition of the old errors in these fresh organizations is now avoided. The sorrow of your earth have drawn into your midst great shining hosts imbued with the sympathies of the heaven world. They come to succor and comfort, and we are united by strong bonds of pure love. The passing of some of your loved ones has been blessed and holy. They have truly entered home, a place where the whole nature is at rest, and they have found the most great peace. The spiritual laws have a wider sphere of action than ever before. Cooperate with us in this reconstructive and regenerating process by working from your true foundation, the spiritual plane, and being guided by your own Christ principle. You have great potentialities. Seek further. You are so near to the kingdom of victory and power. I have longed to return to earth, if but to tell you of the evidence of truth everywhere, in the world of nature around you, in humanity, in your holy book. There you will find words that express the spiritual thought for every condition of the human soul and body. All things are open to you. The sense of mystery is in your own soul. You may take some of the sentences of the great Master, and according to your illumination, your inner spiritual discernment, you will get much or little, but always sufficient for your immediate need. Take the sublime sentence, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Learn of me. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. I am meek and lowly. Ye shall find rest unto your souls, and whither I go you know, and the way we know. From these sentences the child soul receives rest and comfort and becomes a more earnest seeker. But to the soul in which the Christ body is formed, the whole Logos opens in these words. To such there is revealed his own identity with the Christ of God. This applies also to many parts of the Bible. To some it appears mystery on mystery, paradox and contradiction. But lighted by the inner spirit, it becomes an open well of ever-fresh upspringing truth, which will never become exhausted, but will reveal more and more as your own soul becomes purified and freed from material cloud. This light of lights shall pierce every mist of ignorance and fear, and the same light lighteth every man, so that all may attain to this pure vision, and discern the mystery everywhere proclaimed. In life we make our own values by the same divine method, enriching and ennobling according to our own interior wealth and nobility, seeing that which is without modeled to that which is within, eternally reconstructing, making anew by our own God-given creative power. In the ordinary walk of life, in our words, we convey the message of the Spirit, bringing life and immortality to light, so that in the very deed we offer the chalice that contains the true wine and feed the hungry with the bread of life. Rich suggestions run through your Bible like threads of gold. Look beyond the letter to the spirit of the written word. The intuitions of the heart are the true instructors. Trust with thine heart, and do not follow mental perceptions. Happy is the man who findeth this wisdom of the heart. The gain thereof is better than much fine gold. Of this divine wisdom it is said, she is more precious than rubies, and all the things that thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left riches and honor. The Spirit in us searches the depths of God wherein we find ourselves. From this standpoint we learn our true place and work in every sphere here or there. It is the very prominence of God that blinds man, all-penetrating, all-pervading, close at hand in thine heart, with thee as thou readest these words. The soul knows and feels this instant that the Holy of Holies is within. The Christ principle is yours. The power that will reconstruct your whole nature and bring about the redemption of the world is within. End of chapter. Chapter 10, The Evolving Consciousness. Verse, build thee more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low vaulted past, let each new temple nobler than the last. Shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length are free, leaving thine outgrown shell by life's unresting sea. Holmes. Question, I should like to ask, what is the meaning of this experience? I feel myself slowly suffused with a breath other than the ordinary breath. It is very permeating and holy. It is also powerful, causing the whole body to vibrate. Answer, it is a physical manifestation of an inner spiritual force. You are consciously drawing into the outer a current of vital power from the central life, known to mystics as the holy breath. The vibrations are equal in their effect to a strong electric shock. As you evolve, this same force causes you, by a disintegrating process, to become invisible at will. But you must learn to control the will first. Otherwise it will be difficult to re-enter your body or to return to the physical plane. The emotions of mystics are often prophetic of world movements to come. The mystic becomes a focusing point and receives impressions from the supersensual planes before they manifest on the physical. Jesus was able to become invisible at will, leaving no trace of the body. This is a much higher method than leaving the body apparently asleep. We do not suggest investigation along these lines. Just now there is so much to be done close at hand, first steps, as it were, in evolution. Man has taken his ideas largely from appearances in the natural world. You will get fresh points of view later, and will discover that no animal or plant really evolves at the expense of another. There are spiritual forces at work in nature behind the phenomena all the time. The Absolute is unchanging perfection. It is we who are continually getting deeper knowledge through evolving consciousness on the spiritual plane. There is no loss, no separation. Earth will be so strengthened and purified by the present suffering that she will be helped forward in her evolution. No nation, however, rises at the expense of another. Each move upward must be for the good of all. Your victory means increased responsibility. There must be a brotherhood of nations. At this juncture of the earth's history, only divine love and wisdom can meet the need. If you could only look at the processes as we do, you would not hesitate to say, I will follow only the dictates of the Spirit in every action of life. There are wide issues at stake, because fresh territory means the question of the colored races, a larger brotherhood, more and more of the all-embracing love. The East and the West shall meet for the good of each and all. You must draw near to the heart of the people and help their evolution along their own path. You must not try to make them British. Try to be more universal. You were very near to disillusion because of a national divergence in thought and desire. Take care now to rise above separateness, or you will find yourselves isolated as a people. Join bands with the good everywhere. We see thousands in Germany stretching out hands of love towards you, asking for your cooperation and sympathy. Think of it, England to cooperate with Germany, with the German peoples who have suffered enormously for the ignorance of their fellow countrymen. You are a long way from the cooperation at present, but we believe in it and in you. God shall bring it to pass. See to the enemy within your own gates, making for separation even now. End of chapter. Chapter 11. The Eternal Foundation. Verse, Never the Spirit was born, the Spirit shall cease to be never. Never was time, it was not, end and beginning are dreams. Birthless and deathless and changeless remaineth the Spirit forever. Death hath not touched it at all, dead though the house of it seems. The Bhagavad Gita, Sir Edwin Arnold's translation. The perfect, the everlasting Spirit is your true life. Christ is the power, the manifesting principle, that the Father may be glorified in the Son continually. Within you is the soul of the whole, the center of life ever making for expression. It is difficult for you to realize it because you believe in space. You think of vast areas of emptiness, myriads of miles of ether. Space is no more than a thought, is in fact non-existent. When I speak of the life movement through space, I mean the creative evolving principle which obeys the will of God within you. There is no oblivion, but there is perfect rest and peace in the heart of the eternal. Get back to the center. It is the circumference that wearies you. We could not have come in such strength to help you from our side, but for the pathway of light opened to us by means of this war. Pure unselfish love has opened the door for more of God. You will never again sink into such dense materialism. The spirit of life, not of death, has been stirring the strongholds of materialism. It was meant that all should feel the stirring and be moved. You have all an individual part to take in bringing about better conditions. By getting back to the highest within yourself, and by obedience to higher laws, you will lay foundations that can never be moved, foundations upon which the coming generations shall rebuild a purer and holier empire. Let this thought think deep. If you alone begin from this moment to think truly and live out the Christ life just where you are, you help the whole world. The circle widens and strengthens. We know the truth of this, and that only in this way can the real work be done. Make room for love and goodwill. You are not yet ready for peace. Do not prolong the issue by having war in your heart. Believe positively in truth. Jesus said that signs shall follow. Hands shall be laid on the sick, and they shall recover. I assure you that this living, working principle is vital at the present time. A city which cannot be moved is ready to be built on the eternal foundation, and only through individuals can the work be accomplished. End of chapter. Chapter 12. The Soul's Warfare. Verse, We see but half the causes of our deeds, seeking them wholly in the outer life, and heedless of the encircling spirit world, which, though unseen, is felt and sows in us all germs of pure and worldwide purposes. Lowell. In this present war, it is important to remember that it is the souls of the nations that are at grips with each other. You are making great sacrifices and using potential spiritual forces, sometimes at random. There is a vast amount of work to be done for you on higher planes. Some of you are ready to help where you are now. There should be a redirection of spiritual energy, that your efforts may be wisely utilized for the highest good of all, that right action may take precedence in all things. Your great spiritual and temporal leaders have been called to this high service. You will be helped as you could not otherwise have been, but for their cooperation with heavenly forces. At this moment they are strong and free to act. They rejoice in being able to serve your world with new and splendid powers. Your men who gave themselves willingly, along with their leaders, are the real saviors of the country, not because of their victories on the physical plane, but because of their high motive and spiritual energy. They gave themselves for the nation's good, and they are now serving you in a far more vital way. The real war is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. The principles and the liberties of the whole are being assailed by the forces that make for destruction and separateness. God is turning the tide of power into right channels for the good of all humanity. True brotherhood can be established in no other way. This is a time of inner and outer warfare such as the world has never known, and when finished, this warfare will be recognized as the main factor in the true evolution of the spiritual man who shall walk uprightly, work righteousness, and speak the truth in his heart. The darkness which is at hand will be only for a season. Remember the Master's words, "Be not troubled." The soul of the nation is striving for purity and righteousness. God is manifesting through this regenerative process. The soul of life is not contained in one particular nation or people. It is within the elect of all the earth, without distinction of race or color. Take your place on the side of right within yourself, led by the Spirit. Only there is a true place of warfare and its issue. Keep thine heart with all diligence, for out of it all the issues of life. You will soon realize that you are one of the mighty host, whose every move is Godward. Life is great or small according to your awareness. You may be conscious only of a small environment, and you may feel many limitations. This is not the will of God for you. By deep self-knowledge, you become aware of the soul of life filling all space, and you may identify yourself with this omnipresent and transcendent life. It is a life which is the light of all men. Your spirit at one with the great self will stir the universe and break the prison house of the soul of man. Live not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. You will lift many into this God consciousness, the new and living way. While this holy war is being waged, Christ shall reign in you and put all enemies under his feet. In the higher realms, when a soul is about to be sent forth, there are those who help the soul to choose the conditions best suited for the development of qualities lacking in the perfecting of the individual and aiming at the good of all. The place chosen is where the creative spirit in each soul has a work to do and an environment to make. This is the building of life and character, the power of spirit creating worlds, life in spiritual substance, where before was chaos and disorder. There is no waste of energy or material in the whole fabric of the universe. All is good, and the purpose of the higher intelligence is to bring all things into harmony with itself. To bring light and immortality into evidence by assimilation and construction. This is known to you as the movement of life through space. In these tremendous plans, each soul is given its place and power. This is why your place is just where it is, that you may accomplish in yourself the work you came to do. By the great intelligence, all is known from the beginning. The whole history of this present war and the issues of these world forces, now apparently in tumult and disorder. It will not end yet, but during the next 12 months you will go through your worst. End of chapter. Chapter 13, Intuition. Verse, "Moreover, something is or seems that touches me with mystic gleams, like glimpses of forgotten dreams, of something felt, like something here, of something done I know not where, such as no language may declare." Tennyson. You will find that the Master Jesus, on almost every occasion of teaching and healing, used the power of intuition. It is revealed in such sentences as these, "But he knew their thoughts, and Jesus perceived their reasoning. Also when the woman in the crowd touched him, he said, 'Who is it that touched me?' There are many such sentences. Intuition perceives by feeling, which is really clear hearing and seeing combined with understanding. By intuition you become aware of our presence with you and of great spiritual movements in higher spheres, but also you will know the great ones in the flesh among you. There are many on the earth plane more highly evolved than some of us here, and we learn a great deal from them. They are the hidden ministers of the Most High. They are meek and lowly in spirit and the servants of all. Now as before, the prophets are killed and the masters unheeded. Their work is of the highest value to all mankind, and men are blessed by their rich interior lives. Listen to them, learn of them, and do not miss all that they have to teach you, for they have attained to the Christ consciousness by loving union with the lowliest as well as with the highest. Life is too serious to disregard these teachers, since just now there is a great revolution in the thought world. And this is the reason of our anxious solicitude that you should rebuild and reconstruct with the finest thought material. Plans of order and harmony for your earth have been made. Plans of beauty and splendor for the uplifting and blessing of your sorrow-stricken world. Meet together, pray much, and glimpse the creative plans awaiting realization now. One very sure way to apprehend divine meanings in life is by the intuitive faculty latent in all of us. It is such a delicate instrument, so hidden, that unless we search for it with love and patience, we shall miss it. It recognizes all the guiding forces in the soul. I will try to help you to find this in yourself. You have hitherto been trained to use the reasoning faculty, to follow precedents, to be guided by another's experience. For similar events in your own life, all unaware that each soul must carve a path of its own. This is why you should be extremely careful in following any special leading. For every event in life there is true guidance and a right way out of every difficulty. It is actually meant that a man should be able to turn within and say, "Thou wilt show me the path of life." When a man is a pioneer in any fresh path of science or sets out to find new methods, he must trust his intuition. And when you feel a fresh thought arising, you should trust your inner guide. Jesus said, "Blessed are ye that hear the word of God." If you keep your heart pure and full of love to God and man, you will not fail in your search. These are the only conditions. Depend upon this power within. Get quiet, meditate, listen. And if far down within your soul a feeble flash of intelligence gleams, follow it, obey it, and later it will be your guide and compass and will open to you many doors. When a man follows for a time the divine intuitions of the soul, he also provides a way for the higher beings to send help. For your particular part, and as you read you know that you have a part. In this reconstructive work, listen only to the voice within. It is of far greater importance than any outer guidance could be. Blend your thoughts with the transcendent, and so draw into the human channel the higher intelligence. Here we speak without words and follow the intuition of all times. Our thoughts are speech, and according as we are allowed, we interpret yours. It is the thoughts you send that reach us, not words without thought. You may also speak to us, and we may answer you in thoughts, so you see how the intuition and thought need to be kept free from clouds of fear and doubt, the veil between us. We do hold intercourse with you on the inner plane, and when you are silent, we are intimately near, as you often feel. Imagination is a frequent aid to spiritual perception. We can reach you through the image-making faculty. You prepare a thought form which we instantly inhabit in order to convince you of the reality of the thought world and its interpenetrating power. Make mention of us in your prayers. Speak to each other gladly of your dear ones here. Think of them as happy and very often joyous and free. The souls of the righteous are in the hands of God. In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, but they are in peace. It is the intuition also that reveals God in nature and unveils that mystic realm where we hear the stars sing together and listen to the inner voices in woodland, grass, and stream. The glorious forms with their infinite variety are the thoughts and expressions of the beauty of God. You will feel a deep and holiness and sublimity while you get through the mystic gate into the spirit and glory of nature. You will love her until she becomes at one with you and yields up her secrets to you. And within all you will feel the rhythm and heartbeat of the eternal. To reproduce the beauties of nature and form is to build and shape after the pattern of the divine architect of the universe. Come into your own kingdom and bring forth treasures new and old. End of chapter. Chapter 14. Not by might, but by spirit. Verse. Know well, my soul, God's hand controls whatever thou fearest. Round him in calmest music rolls whatever thou hearest. What to thee is shadow, to him is day, and the end he knoweth, and not on a blind and aimless way the Spirit goeth. Whittier. Very frequently ministers, priests, and teachers who are with us here long to return to you, and knowing we can reach you say, "We were blind and missed so much." Tell them how true the words of Jesus are, "The kingdom of heaven is within you. Ye therefore shall be perfect even as your Father in heaven is perfect." We long to help you to know and to be. If you want your children to develop the highest qualities, it is for you to prepare the way by gently leading the little feet into right paths where no outer force can hinder the soul's true development. There will be a period of darkness, a time of stress, quite at the close of these cycles. You will prepare yourselves and them for the coming days. New and deep spiritual power will be given as a need arises, but you need to be ready. Quit ye like men, be strong. Let us face the necessities and rise above the oncoming wave. It is nearly the end of the old cycle. There is being brought to birth this fresh consciousness of God. Many of you who read this book are ready and will be the means by which God brings forth his fresh revelation of life. He cometh as a thief in the night, that is to say, all unobserved and silent. The day of his coming is at hand, and your work is at the gates. Begin with yourself. Watch and pray, and again I say, watch and pray. And tomorrow you shall have more strength and more light. Be led of the Spirit, and you will be gradually transformed interiorly. Literally, Christ will be formed in you. Ruled by the Holy Spirit, you will be lifted above the sense plane and all its illusions. Vast armies of the unseen are sending waves of pure spiritual power, and will continue to do so. Strong in this strength, you will speak the word that shall heal and bless. You already have divine pity in your heart for sorrow and suffering, but you shall have the grace of the Lord Jesus, and your comfort and sympathy shall mean the putting away of sorrow and the healing of pain. Strong to love, seeing the divine in all life, having the sword of the Spirit, you will scatter the powers of darkness, ignorance, and fear. In the spring of the year 1919, strong spiritual forces will control the earth, and you will be astonished at much that you see. There will be a sorting out of the wheat from the tar in all the leading departments of life. Many men and women will be placed in positions of authority and responsibility who have hitherto been considered simple and unlearned. The whole political system will be gradually changed, and only those men will remain in power who are the chosen and the fit. Wherever wrong rulers exist, means from our side will be used to remove such from positions of power, as the earth is to be purified and conditioned to be made so that the least as well as the greatest shall have their true birthright, a suitable place and a means of existence. You are getting rid of mental slums, and the outer results will be pure cities and healthy spaces where evolution is not hindered by injustice, selfishness, and greed. These changes will be brought about gradually. Even now the chief obstacles are being attacked at the roots by this war, unknown to any on your side. A great teacher will come to you later and bring with him new ideals. The essence of his teaching will be simplicity and truth. The real power in the future will be given to the builders of the race, the workers and saviors of the people. The child in your midst has a great and holy work in your future. Help the children to develop the highest within them. End of chapter. Chapter 15. Vision, Victory. Verse, and since it is most natural to wish to be in God, the human soul naturally wills it with all longing. And since it being depends on God, and it's preserved thereby, it naturally desires and wills to be united with God in order to justify its being. Dante. There is some confusion between two schools of thought in your midst. The one holds that the absolute, the perfect, is already in manifestation, and that here and now you are immune from sickness, accident, and death, that the true conception of God in the universe is obtained by a mental process. The other holds that the true understanding is arrived at by and through the evolution of the spiritual consciousness in man, and that he comes in time through many and varied experiences to the true apprehension and enjoyment of God. They have each their own message to give, as you will see. The Absolute is unchanging, timeless, spaceless, eternal, infinite love and wisdom. Only love can comprehend the source and center, and no mental process will lead us thither. In the heart is the door, the revealing Christ, the one mediator, opening to the origin and the goal of all things, God. And this door opens to the whole, not to a part, to the fullness of the Godhead. It is wise to remember that what the mind creates, the mind can destroy. But that which is born in the heart is eternal. It is also true that the kingdom of heaven is apprehended through your developing consciousness, and this explains the reasoning of our continual seeking. The ideal, always appearing higher and clear as the higher self within, discards the many webs and veils of illusion. You will behold with open face when love reigns supreme in the human heart, not through a glass darkly. It is in the heart, not in the brain, that you receive divine illumination. At best, the mind is only a channel. So here we find the points of agreement between the two schools now doing so much real work in the reconstruction and representation of the teaching of Jesus. Where there is no vision, the people perish. John saw the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, so must you, in spite of appearances, see the kingdom of light and order coming into actual manifestation from the heavenly consciousness to your earth. Those of the first school of thought have a partial glimpse of that which is, but they ignore the states of consciousness necessary for its full recognition and attainment. Those of the second school, in their extreme caution, may lose the vision to some extent, and also misunderstand the use and meaning of faith. Even the lowest stage of blind faith leads ultimately to faith with understanding. By faith it is possible to quicken the stages of evolution and unfold the flower of the highest consciousness, the Christ consciousness of God, man, and the universe. By faith the heart draws wisdom and power from its true wellspring in the infinite. Faith really is the positive will bringing into operation higher laws and overcoming negative states of inertia. On the spiritual plane, time has no meaning. As often a soul may evolve through an acute experience, lasting perhaps only a few hours, to a state of consciousness, which in the ordinary way would take a whole lifetime to unfold. This present war is so quickening the evolution of the nation that we see the greatest possibilities of lasting good to be gained through these terrible experiences. Dwelling in God, you will manifest His ideas and pierce the veil of illusion. The realm of thought and spirit is the true realm of pure existence. In the eternal mind, the end is known from the beginning. There is a place of sinlessness, a holy of holies in every soul, a temple for the Most High. The tabernacle of God is ever within man. This is true also in nature. There are centers in every planet, indestructible and eternal, the seed thought for fresh cycles and renewals. Without these true centers of spiritual force, the whole fabric would disintegrate. The idea for man in the universe is perfection, and this we must all keep perpetually in view and so expand and express it in every way possible, both in the unseen and on the plane of the senses. That your fellow men will all attain to a perfect knowledge of God ultimately is a creative thought to hold as you look at them in every state of existence, however ignorant and dark. On that wonderful day when Jesus was baptized by John in Jordan and received the holy chrism, the anointing, there came to him a realization of the fullness of the Godhead for all. The spiritual universe was unveiled. Humanity stood out as the divine idea, and Jesus the Christos sent out from himself the holy Christ consciousness for us all. There is a day, an hour, when we emerge from the old bondage and limitation into the largeness and freedom of real life and liberty through the Christ of God, and in those recorded words, "My beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." We have a prophetic vision of that glorified humanity. End of chapter. Chapter 16, That I May Attain. Be of good cheer, I have overcome. Jesus. To be selfless and free, open only to the universal law, is the real desire of us all. In the great ocean of being, which we call life, there is the pure originating mind, the real tide of the ocean. The opening of the soul to the tides of the great active intelligence constitutes a state of becoming. And in these moments of receptivity, the whole being is filled with the creative impulses, just as the tide fills to overflowing every empty space in the stream, and seeks a further outlet for its abundant fullness. This will suggest to you more than any mental process. It will suggest the power of the life which is ours. It is the urge of pure life forces welling up in the soul through the heart, soul, mind, and strength. To attain this is to love life through these four channels, thus calling to yourself the tides of the ocean and ever keeping the channel clear for more and more of life, until the whole earth is filled with the knowledge of God, as the waters cover the sea. Just as you see the swirl and the movements in the new created pool where the ocean rushes in, so you may glimpse the whole meaning of life in its creative urge in yourself. Thus do you send forth the word, the power of becoming. You are using the creative impulse to give and not to get. You have opened out into the whole of time, the whole of being. Rest in the certainty that the unceasing energy of this latter will receive full manifestation. To think of the infinite in finite terms would be impossible. We cannot define the limitless or explain God in any terms of time or space. we may know of that which is all in all, in whom we live and move, and have our being, the eternal, ever-present I Am, through the Jesus, the Christ of God. In him we get a vision of the transcendent and the immanent one. In him we see the goal of humanity, the Christhood of the race. We are making for the true center when we approach, however feebly, to the apprehension of God in Christ. If as seekers you would try to realize in your hearts some of the simplest teaching of the Master, your real spiritual nature would unfold. You will never be helped by externals. You must acquaint yourself with God. Peter, in a moment of illumination, perceived the meaning of Jesus when he exclaimed, "Truly, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." Not revealed by flesh and blood or by any word of man. Feel after truth with your heart. The true reconstructive power comes with this Christ consciousness in the individual. It is dawning in the hearts of men all over the world. The day of the old methods has long passed. And unless the churches help men to discover what they themselves are potentially, they will have no message for this day and generation. It is high time to awake out of the sleep, to put forth these God-given powers, to become living epistles, to magnify the name. Before Abraham was I Am, says Jesus. Let this same mind be in you, and you will surmount the limitations of time and sense. You will become aware of old stirrings in the subconscious deep. You will learn something of what St. Paul means by the carnal mind. This is a record of things done in the flesh throughout the long past ages. These must not dominate the higher type now emerging from the long period of ignorance, any more than we allow a defect to remain in a cultivated plant or tree. Some of the paramount experiences have left strong impressions: fear, passion, hate. These have no place in the Christ consciousness. You are the sons of God. At every remainder of fear, strike the root by realizing the word of power: I and the Father are one. Strike at the root, break up the delusion, and scatter it by might of love. If you persist for a time, these race memories will die away. You have written a stronger word in the subconscious deeps. These tremble at your word and disappear. This is a spiritual law. And you will find strong cooperation in every direction. Thus is the word of God written in the heart. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Indeed, the Psalms hold the key of life and are a complete record of the soul through all its initiations. End of chapter. Chapter 17. The darkness that precedes the dawn. Verse, we shape ourselves, the joy or fear of which the coming life is made, and fill our future's atmosphere with sunshine or with shade. The tissue of the life to be we weave with colors all our own, and in the field of destiny we reap as we have sown. Whittier. Questions. Why was such a means as this dreadful war used to bring about a better state of things? How do you reconcile war with the words of Jesus, thou shalt not kill? Answer. The war was not the method chosen to bring about good. It is the working out of an eternal law of cause and effect. The present crisis is a means used by divine love and wisdom to make all experiences work together for good. It is not in any sense a divine plan. The power was in your own hands to glide harmoniously out of the old dispensation and into the new. Some of you will do this as it is. The war was begun long before you met on the fields of battle. It was in the mental atmosphere projected by your thoughts and desires in the past. To a large extent you are guilty as well as your enemy. Let us be thorough in your uprooting and get at the beginnings. You declared war upon every nation when you separated yourselves from others in order to acquire for yourselves what was meant for the benefit of the whole world. The beginning of all your mistakes is in the self of the senses, taking the place of the one self of us all. Separation is your most deadly foe. You must fight your battle with this false sense and allow all-pervading love to spread the wings of peace in your own individual lives now. Thank God that you are getting good from this war. It has already opened your eyes and will ultimately set the nations free from self-seeking. If you look around, you may now see how much you have to do. Do your part and send out love. Love, love. It is to your own real benefit to let your neighbor get his needs satisfied first. Give to the world in every way until it becomes your joy to give and to love. True wealth is within. It is not an accumulation of goods. God is going to use this war for your regeneration and national salvation. Thou shalt not kill is still the divine command as it ever was. Look deeper. Have you not been killing your brother for a long time past? How many have let your plane with only half the experience they came to get, killed by capitalism, lust, starvation? This is murder, I tell you. The men slain on the fields of battle die clean death in comparison. They leave the body without hurt to the soul. The world kills by thoughts of hate and envy which strike the soul and hinder evolution. Be not afraid of them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. Take care of the feeblest, the lowliest in your midst. These brave, unselfish men who go out to fight your battles are merely tools sent by the nation. The result will not attach to them unless they carry hatred and revenge in their work. Thousands on both sides are working against their will. These are in the truly brave, and they will receive compensation in the higher realms. Their hands are clean, the guilt is not theirs. You are going to bring in the new kingdom from this time on, to reestablish it on the true foundation, working in the heart through individual lives. The time is ripe for reconstruction. We reap what we sow. But let us rid ourselves of this old and ever-present race consciousness. Some fine souls have come to us here who saw all we see and yet fought, because like the surgeon they wish to help, by drastic means, to rid the earth of greed and hate. Already there is greater freedom. We are much nearer. Souls are looking more and more to the Spirit within, and even ignorant souls are stirred. This is a great awakening, and God is manifesting through humanity as never before in selfless love. You are making material which can never be unmade throughout all time. You will need great humility and much self-cleansing, but we rejoice to see many hearts stirred, so much purified desire. We strengthen your hands and uphold you in spirit, for we know that the soul of life is about to manifest in this new birth. The present phase is the darkness that precedes the dawn. The race is young, and the earth soul is like a child unborn. The time is at hand for its freedom and true existence, once the shackles of darkness and dependence have been removed. One experience awaits the race, the birth pang, but with the knowledge of the great freedom, so near we can be strong and of good courage, for the last pains of ignorance and limitation are close at hand. End of chapter. Chapter 18. Dying to Live. Verse: While man is living here, walking these common streets, living in closest intercourse with other men, he is already in the everlasting presence, and this heaven has begun. Philip Brooks. The dissolution of the husk liberates the true life. The nation which abides alone, making no sacrifice, bears no fruit. Nations die to live again in greater purity and strength. To die to live is an eternal spiritual law. There is no such thing as annihilation. Life is triumphant everywhere. There is joy in the deepest depth. Nevertheless, says St. Paul, I die daily. We offer ourselves that the greater self may be glorified, that his name and nature may be expressed in us, that we too may hear the inner voice. I have both glorified it, and it will glorify it again. Great Britain has been chosen to liberate true life by the way of sacrifice. After the crucifixion, there was darkness and earthquake. And so it will be that after the crucifixion of the nation, the darkness will come, as has been typified. By your sacrifice will rend the veil of materialism between humanity and God. Now may we draw near and receive the chrism. Sacrifice over ever new and living way of atonement with all life is our purification. It will bring about the uplifting of all. The Son of Man is lifted to the cross that he may draw all men to God. To say, if a man has died for his country, he has given his life as Jesus did, is to confuse values. It would take the death of the whole world to be equal in spiritual value to the crucifixion of Jesus, because his love was utterly selfless. It embraced the whole of humanity so absolutely that he alone could make the supreme sacrifice, which no man could do who had not attained to the pure being. The greater our love, the greater the value of our sacrifice. Your sons, brothers and husbands, women and even children, who have come to us during this time of war, have already tasted of the deep joy which no man can ever take away. Do not sorrow for them, then will you know something of their happiness. We are close to you. Heaven is interpenetrating your very state of existence. If your eyes were open, you could see these millions of angelic beings walking in and out amongst you, beautiful and radiant. We have such an intense, vital life that your world appears almost like a dream world. Soon you will be able to communicate with us more easily as the veil of fear is lifted. Our children here often play with your children. Animals see us constantly. Alas, that the soul gets so covered by materialism and the mind clouded by the self of the senses. The day is drawing near when the two worlds shall be one. Let us help you to lay bare within yourself the perceptive faculties of the soul. End of chapter. Chapter 19, The Wings of the Soul. Verse, we have all of us free access to all that is great and good and happy, and carry within ourselves the key to all the treasures that heaven has to bestow upon us. William Law. Simplicity is attained only through wisdom. It is not easy to become as little children, for they have the memory of the perfect life, and the environment of the holy spheres is still with them. With the eyes of the soul they perceive the spiritual world. Their ears are open to the heavenly voices. Without knowing it, they apprehend the divine meaning of life, and with their pure faith and single eye they dwell in the kingdom of heaven. The descent of the soul into material conditions is very gradual, although this golden thread of holy memory gleams and glistens through all life's experiences. Yet do we reach out after the fruit of the tree of knowledge on the plane of the senses, and so fall from our highest state, the heavenly consciousness. We are all fallen angels in the earlier periods of our lives, but we regain angelhood by reascension through every degree of partial blindness onto clear seeing. In those early days of childhood, we were beyond good and evil. We were expressions of life without knowledge. We dwelt in perfect purity of soul. We may strengthen that golden thread of memory and bring once more around us the company of heaven. Your souls may now be raised on wings of simplicity and purity. They may leave the sense world with its dark dreams and illusions. What you consider old age is really a time when you recapture these spiritual values and attain to the wisdom of the second childhood, given to mortals to prepare them for re-entrance into the eternally holy spheres. These ripe souls are purified by simplicity and become heavenly. The two wings of the soul make it unconquerable. Become universal in your love and interest, looking upon all men as your father, mother, lover, and child, seeing all relationships in God, and not making a wall about yourself or your thoughts. Do not remain long in one place, but make all places your own. This is true simplicity, to love all in the one, and to see only the one in the all, to have one home, one abiding place in God. Get rid of earthly responsibility at every turn, and do not acquire goods. Be free from chains that bind and fetter the spirit. Be simple in your creed. Know only that God is love, and that Christ, the eternal Son, is sent forth into humanity. The whole meaning of life is to express God. Be simple in your homes, taking no anxious thought. Let the wing of simplicity be outspread, without anything to impede it. Purity, the right wing of the soul, depends on simplicity. Together lifting the soul, they give her swiftness of flight, and lofty vision, whereby she may carry light unto them that sit in darkness, and in the shadow of death, guiding their feet in the way of peace. The clear light of the heavenly radiance, the ecstasy of the Spirit, belongs to the pure in heart. Let us work together for the purification of your earth. Be ye holy, for I am holy. Be pure in thought this day, live simply, and tomorrow your wings will stir to lift you out of the miry clay of the senses. Behold, I too show you a mystery. When you attain to the wisdom of purity and simplicity, in the twinkling of an eye we are one. You have broken down the wall of sense, and stand in the eternal places for the world's good, seeing the invisible, the mighty in strength. I have no language to tell you of all that awaits the pure in heart. You will see God in the eyes of a little child, in the street, in men and women walking life's highway, in every movement of life, in birds, in trees and flowers, in sky, wind and storm. You will see God, radiant and holy, walking with you, perceiving in the lowliest, the poorest, the most soiled of earth's creatures, the angel of joy. See how this fits you for your present work on the earth's plane, for you have great need of hope and faith when you go into the depth. Verse, that only which we have within can we see without. If we meet no gods, it is because we harbor none. If there is grandeur in you, you will find grandeur in porters and sweeps. He only is rightly immortal, to whom all things are immortal. Emerson. End of chapter. Chapter 20, In the Real World. I tell you, we are fooled by the eye, the ear. These organs muffle us from the real world that lies about us. The great difference between us and the mystics of old is that we urge upon you vitality, activity from the spiritual plane, not activity from the urge of the outer. This has been the great error in the past, following in the steps of Jesus, but not realizing the Christ within, which he came to reveal. When you get a fresh glimpse of truth, express it, live it, be it, and you will become free and strong. Like the mystics, you must go within the door to find pasture, but you must also come out and enrich others. Do not rest until you have made a difference in yourself and your environment because of what you have inwardly perceived. All truth must be lived. In the doing we discover the power to do more. Our work here is creative. You are now working out a divine plan just where you are, and no one else can do your work. Be thou faithful in that which is least. Those whose eyes are opened, who perceive the special needs of the day, have come to serve and help the countries in their great need. Rejoice that such a grand opportunity is at your door. Rise, and in the power of your indwelling Lord, you will recreate from the center. Bring to birth that divine seed, perfection, struggling for expression in the soul of the universe. Call faith to your aid, and do not be dismayed at illusion or appearance. What if you are the chosen one, sent out from God to make the crooked straight and the rough places plain? Take your first step in your immediate surrounding, and you will be led out and on. You may trust the divine guidance in every detail of your life. Great is the urge of the Spirit to reconstruct your earth. We reach out to serve you, that God may be realized in all life. God grant our words may come to you with power. We know that our pure desire and love for you shine forth like a bright light. Do let us be earnest about this real warfare between light and darkness. Look into God's face before you face the world. Be much in prayer and give some part of your day to quiet and to a realization of all the resources at your disposal. We see from this side that there is a great work for women, and that she will be the new manifestation of God until the two are one, when there will be neither marrying nor giving in marriage. In quietness you will enter into this glorious union with God until you know in your hearts that God is the only life and fills all space. Your consciousness of this will dispel ignorance and darkness. The power to perceive these truths is under the control of your will and your desire. End of chapter. Chapter 21, India. Verse, The narrow-minded ask, Is this one of our tribe, or is he a stranger? But to those who are of a noble disposition, the whole world is but one family. Justice is so dear to the heart of nature, that if in the last day one atom of injustice were found, the universe would shrivel like a serpent's skin to cast it off forever. Hindu Scriptures. Question, Will this war end war? Answer, no, it will only weary the nations for a time. This is why we who see the real causes, the roots where the trouble began, come with these messages to your plane. You may not be aware of it, but in your own immediate circle, unless you love your neighbor as yourself, you are sowing the seed for war on a much larger scale. Only love can kill war. At present, as we look at the higher mental planes, we see dense clouds over China gathering in weight, but not active. This means that the war spirit is collecting force in the minds of the people. It is not ready for expression and could be broken, but it is there. It is far more serious when we look over India. The generals and seers of this side are amazed at your blindness, your evident lack of gratitude to the men of that country who have helped and are even now helping you in the hour of need. The mental cloud over India is dark, full of movement and emanating flame at times. This is how we perceive mental states. It is good to remember that, however turbulent these storms may be, there is a higher height, a deeper depth, a transcendent thought and a center of perfect poise to which all may attain, and there dissolve these false conditions. These people, panther-like, are watching your rulers. You have made great mistakes and have actually hindered the evolution of that wonderful empire. Whenever this happens, higher powers intervene, and the British rule will either end or give place to those who will show wisdom and equality. The peoples of India will be best helped at this juncture by their own rulers. In many ways, British rule has been protective in the past. It is now largely repressive. The people need more of wisdom and love. He who dares despise another race is himself despised. It is not too late to undo the errors of the past, to give power to those who understand the true conditions. Begin by showing your gratitude, your appreciation to their generous help. There are splendid men and women in India now, your own people, who see much of this and would gladly give their lives to save the situation and help India. Listen to these people and to us, who see causes and effect, that you may rise to your responsibility. The East has much to teach the West. Take measures now, otherwise you will have to face more pain and sorrow. So much lies with yourself, if you only knew. Speak of India with love and gratitude. She will feel this sooner than you imagine. Change the vibrations towards India, otherwise you will be too late. Great Britain is just, but slow to see and to act. End of chapter. Chapter 22. Joy and Satisfaction. Verse. Place yourself in the middle of a stream of power and wisdom which flows into you as life. Place yourself in the full center of that flood. Then you are without effort impelled to truth, to right, and a perfect contentment. Emerson. When the soul obeys the voice of the senses, the vision is clouded and the mind begins to bewilder the body with sensations of fear and doubt, the origin of disease. Come into the pure realm of spirit, where there are not two voices but one only, the good, the all-perfect. From this secret place you will perceive the good of the earthly experience, its creative purpose for an ever-fresh manifestation of God. Come out of the old race consciousness into the new, leaving the imitations in favor of the real and the true. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lift up, ye everlasting doors. The soul and the King of glory shall come in, strong and mighty, cleansing the body of its mental illusions through the purity and simplicity of the soul, in order to work out amid the present darkness and warfare the reconstruction of your life. How can a soul become great unless it be lowly, or a man become strong unless he be meek? Learn of me, then will you appreciate the pure glory of the natural world. You will find new meanings in morning skies and star-filled nights, revelation in all the incidents of the day, unexpected joys to greet you, and one day, in the hedges by the wayside, you will see the burning bush, the undying flame. You will hear the great I Am. As you hold this little book in your hand, I tell you that you are endowed with riches untold, the infinite heart at one with you, in your soul the resource for every need. The whole universe is with the soul that follows the Spirit's guidance. You do not lack any good thing. Even now you are at one with the source and center of all. Joy in the depths of your being constitutes your real strength. In the midst of sorrow, yet always rejoicing, the soul soars above the clouds of time and sense into the purity and peace of light and life eternal. This joy reveals itself in your speech and actions. You are spreading the light by your own realization of it. Your soul sings the Magnificat, the great mystic poem, the song of the soul in holiest communion with the Godhead. The message of heaven to earth is eternally the same, good tidings of great joy, Jesus said. My joy is fulfilled. An expression of complete satisfaction, he said it in the face of crucifixion, with every appearance of failure before him, because he knew that deep beneath the illusions of the senses were wellsprings of spiritual power and hidden joy. By his self-giving he would liberate this joy for others. Death had no meaning to him. The doors were opening for higher service, wider spheres, the power to give vitality, perpetually in all the richness and fullness of the Godhead. I will come again, that where I am, there ye may be also. In these days you are passing through the valley of shadows. God is using his period for the accomplishment of his divine plan, breaking up old worn-out creeds, false conditions of an over-civilization, and bringing you back to the high levels of truth and right consciousness. Verse. Give me, O God, to sing that thought. Give me, give him or her I love this quenchless faith in thy ensemble, whatever else withhold not from us. Belief in plan of the enclosed in time and space, health, peace, salvation, universal. Walt Whitman. End of chapter. Chapter 23. The Power of Hope. Verse. The future is lighted for us with the radiant colors of hope. Strife and sorrow shall disappear. Peace and love shall reign supreme. The dreams of poets, the lessons of priest and the prophet, the inspiration of the great musician is confirmed in the light of modern knowledge, and as we gird ourselves up for the work of life, we may look forward to the time when, in the truest sense, the kingdom of this world shall become the kingdom of Christ. Fisk. Hope thou in God. These are words of might and power, revealing to the initiate the great force conveyed in the utterance. To say these words in the silence of meditation, for others or for yourself, is the beginning of healing. The soul at once recognizes the voice of the Master. When rightly apprehended, all the illusions of the senses drop away at this command of the Spirit, and the true purpose of life unfolds. To the physically weak and disabled, it is like the breath of heaven, and brings to birth the recognition of the divine forces at their disposal. Hope thou is an individual work, and you perceive the divine meaning to bring into operation those powers of the soul which already seize the anchor within the veil. Hope is the first step towards attainment, is in fact the beginning of fulfillment. Get into even a momentary consciousness of God and of hope. In that instant you open doors which can never again be closed. There are words and sentences of power in your Bible which, even though but dimly understood, will help you to get back to the spiritual idea for yourselves and for your country. If in meditation you send forth the words of the Spirit, others will realize the meaning and manifest the idea in a much wider and fuller sense than seemed possible to you. These sentences of power are ever revealing fresh truth and beauty as you hold them in thought. In time they will become to you mighty words spoken from within. Hope thou in God. Have the faith of God. I am come down to deliver. The angel of his presence saved them. They have been delivered, saved from the bondage of materialism. You may help and be helped by holding in your thoughts these sentences, because all the time within you is the knower of all things known, who will bring all things to your remembrance when the need arises, even though you cannot now perceive the full power and meaning of these life-giving sentences. Had you allowed, as did your brothers, the false sense to be supreme, your chances of victory and peace would have been infinitesimal. They had reached the heights of human wisdom on the plane of the senses, and are much wiser than you in the art of warfare. But higher forces have intervened for you. Ultimately, defeat will mean salvation for them also. The false self has separated them from the whole. They will suffer the effects in isolation. We reap what we sow. A great and deep love can draw them into the world family again. Multitudes have helped you on the fields of battle, hosts unseen, though wielding power that belong to the spiritual plane. I am come down to deliver, to sift the wheat from the chaff out of all nations on the face of the earth. I tell you this, that you may see the reason of your hope. For your country you may be strong in hope, but hope thou in God. A most important element in this reconstruction is to be strong in hope for the children in your midst, to surround them with an atmosphere of expectancy, of the brighter dawn, the glad tomorrow. We are continually saved by hope, all of us, but the children mean so much for the future of your earth. And just now they are fresh and pure, with their ideals unsullied, that they may bring to birth the heavenly ideas dormant in the soul. They are magnificent material for creativeness. We see that the child's soul is now ready for the writing of God's Word on the heart from within. Hope supplies the fostering atmosphere. It quickens the divine seed and promotes healthy growth of ideas where otherwise tares might spring up. Set yourself as parents and teachers to be full of holy optimism and the good cheer of Christ. Be buoyant in the spite of the heaviness of this passing phase, and in this way you will make such a strong atmosphere that the spiritual forces will everywhere be quickened and strengthened. You cannot overestimate the power of happiness. Hope thou in God, and by the strength of hope you will leap over the walls of great difficulty. Hope brings the whole mental and spiritual atmosphere into a divine condition of expectancy. This constitutes the preparation for the coming one, the steps to the altar fire. Hope there in God, and hope shall become realization. Use the vital forces and powers of the Christ principle, and you will revitalize Christianity by getting back to its true revelation. Says Jesus, ask what ye will. We want you to benefit by our experience and use the God powers now in your soul. You were never meant to be ignorant so long in bondage to the world of senses. End of chapter. Chapter 24. Faith and its relation to thought. Verse, Thoughts are the angels which we send abroad, to visit all the parts of God's abode. All wisdom in a thought doth shine. By thoughts alone the soul is made divine. Thoughts are the springs of all our actions here, on earth, though they themselves do not appear. They are the springs of beauty, order, peace. Thomas Traherne. The plane of the senses is largely a plane of reflection. The spiritual world is the world of cause, and your plane receives reflections and sometimes substantial manifestations in spiritual values. Every incident of your life actually happens here first. We have the pure image of everything that is. As thought is the origin, the real, it is the first expressed through its creative medium on the spiritual plane. This is why almost the first thing people say when they come here is, "Why, this is just like home, only so much more real." They quickly perceive that they have left the dream world for the real, the reflection for the actual. In this perception they know that death is an impossibility, and that its shadow is forever a thing of the past. If you consider for a moment the truth and beauty of this message, it will bring you the greatest comfort. There is no strangeness in heaven. You do not change your habits and customs until you change your thoughts. All activity is the outward expression of your thoughts. All you are, all you possess is really what you have created for yourself out of the thought world. There is no mystery about the heavenly state. It is a consciousness of God. And unless you have attained fully, you will find that the change from earth to heaven will not suddenly bring this about. You will enjoy the exact consciousness which you have created for yourself or for the one in the process of creation by your daily thinking. Your Christ consciousness is the preparer of the mansions in the eternal. Eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, neither hath it entered into the heart of man, those things which God hath prepared for those that love him. This is a simple statement of fact. Often in the past you have given love, you have striven to attain the highest, you have opened heaven's doors. Every unselfish thought means for you treasures in heaven. You may have forgotten these, but you will meet them again, refined and purified. The vision may have become dim for a moment, but your own good thoughts and nobler ideas of the past are yours forever. Your highest thoughts and rich imaginations, all the hopes and divine longings of the soul, are stored up for you and will bear fruit. Some of you have laid up rich treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, nor thieves break through and steal. God's desire is that you enter into your true wealth now, and so bring heaven to earth by inner realization, not live in fragmentary expressions, as this were the whole. The whole of your thought has never been expressed because of your lack of faith in the spiritual and the unseen. But it exists on the spiritual plane and is yours forever. You cannot think without result. Every thought is creative, good or ignorant. But you have missed a great measure of joy on earth, where your thought would have found expression had you so willed. Here you have left behind the semblance, the reflection, and all the illusions of the sense plane, and have replaced them by pure existence. Your real wealth consists in what you have stored here. Have you not heard good people say, "I am poor in this world's good, nevertheless I feel rich"? They have glimpsed, as it were, into their own spiritual storehouse. As poor, yet making many rich, is a glorious possibility for you all, by revealing the things of the Spirit and helping souls to faith in the good. There is no gulf between man and God, earth and heaven. There is no mystery or vagueness in these matters. Your inheritance is substantial and eternal. You may enjoy much of it here and now. Bring heaven to earth, consciousness in being, thought the creative sphere. All that will remain in the days to come will be the spiritual elements. This is what is meant by the end of the material world, but it is constructive, and not, as you've been taught to think, destructive. It means that all the illusory sense world will be melted by the fire of love and truth. That veil will be lifted, and men will see only that which truly exists. God. End of chapter. Chapter 25. Faith in its relation to thought continued. We build our ideals, and they in turn build us. You have had for many years men and women with glorious ideals, full of Christly love and enthusiasm for your earth. They have seen a world purified and a people living in truth and righteousness. Every good thinker and teacher has added strength and beauty to this new earth. It already exists in the spiritual realm, and the spiritual world interpenetrates yours. The time has come for manifestation of the idea to bring to actual outer evidence the city not made with hands. Before you reconstruct, you should look to what you have inherited of all the good and true, and realize that which you have already imagined forth. Thousands of Christ-like men and women with vision and spiritual power have helped to create this heavenly country for you in the Christ consciousness. But the world needs realization, evidence of truth. There must be expression, actual manifestation of the spiritual here and now. This is possible. All things are possible if you rightly use faith. Have the faith of God. You are a divine necessity, for this wonderful work begins with the individual. Act as if the thought world actually existed on this earth. The Christ idea and outward actuality for you at all events. This is faith in perfection. See your homes, simple, pure, and beautiful. Let your conversations be constructive and your thoughts creative, with a deep undercurrent of joy. This is what is meant by pray without ceasing and having your conversation in heaven. Soon your home will have changed atmosphere and the actual transmutation will begin. The strong spiritual forces will pierce through the illusions of the senses and find opening in unexpected mental sphere. Have the faith of God on behalf of those about you. When you think of your neighbor, see in him and all his affairs order, beauty, and be blind to all else. Press on by day, strong in faith. This is expressing thought and bringing the image-making faculty into outer existence. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Let every house and building be a meeting place for those who love God, never mind the failing of life. Give your best to the world and see in all you meet the ideal people of your thought. For you, error and ignorance have no existence except as material to use for fresh expressions of God. Have only the single eye. Never mind how appearances baffle or bewilder. Press on. Believe in your fellow man. Love him. Soon you will have quite a new standard of values. The first thing will be the first, the kingdom of Christ, your paramount idea. And love the propelling force. Thus the godlike faith will bring into outer actuality the vision of the mount, the true, the real. There is with you a power greater than your own will and desire, a transcendent force going before, making the crooked straight and the rough places plain. Believe that you live and move and have your being in God, and God will become manifest through you. This war has set in motion spiritual forces undreamed of. People are more receptive. Thy will understand your message, and love will not be repulsed. Sorrow has opened doors for friendliness and comradeship. The time is ripe for the new consciousness of God. The ends of the earth have met. Faith will pierce the clouds of illusion and reveal the kingdom of light in your midst. If 2 or 3 together live this life of pure faith, they would quickly become a center for the unseen workers, and the work would spread far and wide. You have not been positive. Fear has kept you from self-realization. Many healers will come forth, and laws of nature will be understood as soon as man is at the center of life and takes his true place, with Christ in his heart, the living principle to work out the manifestation, the revelation of Christ, not hiding the light of the world, but making way for the life principle, for the regeneration of others and the realization of that which exists. Look through evil and see good. Even hate is love perverted and can be brought back to its channel. Be calm, serene, positive. Behind every appearance of calamity there is good, and by your faith you will bring it into evidence. Just where you are as you read these words, you may, by a breath, be at one with the holiest and the highest. You may receive the illumination of the Spirit. There is a value in consecrated buildings. Still, God is at hand all the time and in all places. Go out today in the strength of this intimacy with holy force, and you will realize a new earth now prepared for manifestation. End of chapter. Chapter 26. The nations shall walk in the light of it. Verse, have the religions of mankind no common ground? Is there not everywhere the same enrapturing beauty, beaming forth from many hidden places? Broad indeed is the carpet which God has spread, and beautiful the colors he has given it. There is but one lamp in this house, in the rays of which, wherever I look, a bright assembly meets me. The paths to God are more in number than the breathings of created beings. Persian Scripture. Each one of you has his or her own message to give to the world from the Spirit. It must be given in your own way and by your own particular methods. The diamond has many facets, each with its glory of light and color making the whole appear more beautiful. You are not meant to give the message of someone else, however good and beautiful it may be. Reveal the light within, be yourself, and speak your own word. It is meant that there should be endless variety in the things of the Spirit as the nature world reveals them. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together, by each producing the individual note and color, so that Christ may be magnified in me. You will find, if you speak the true word, that however diverse the message, there is one root idea to them all, one word only. If you can give your message in painting, put your highest thought, your noblest ideas into your work, and God will speak through the picture. If you sing, let your heart overflow with love, and God's voice will be heard in your song. Let your love flow out to the loveless and the desolate, to the suffering, dumb creatures in your midst. Care for children who are neglected and in want, and you will hear a voice saying, Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my children, you have done it unto me. Do not try to copy another. Unity is not uniformity. This is a perversion. Endless variety is God's method. The work that you can put your heart into is the work God gives you and no other. There is no separation in any sense from God. What you are urged to express is from the center of us all. Your work may be in the silence, the life of prayer. Only be faithful and do the thing that is making itself plain to you. As this is true for individuals, it is also true for states and nations. No country should coerce or legislate for another state or people without this other's understanding and cooperation. Each has its own national soul and should have perfect freedom to express God in its own way. We are all meant to bring to the outer planes a perfect form and a representation of the divine idea. These varieties go to make a perfect whole within and without. The true unity of nations is to be at heart and soul with one another for the good of each and all, and at the same time to be free to express the national soul along right path. This unity of races has a very beautiful effect on the spiritual plane. I was over a hospital near the French lines, and I heard strong and sweet music and saw a beautiful form, like two large wings outspread, full of exquisite harmony of coloring. As these rose and fell with soft vibration, waves of rose-colored ether spread in circles and rushed out to strengthen the souls of the nations represented within the building. Later I saw Germans and French wounded with Irish, Scotch, Colonials, English, and one solitary Indian. These were all lovingly cared for by French and English doctors and nurses. Love, the great unifier, was the worker and creator of this almost perfect combination of sound, form, and color. I cannot express in earthly language the glory of it to us here, and what a rich revelation of God was made manifest. In the midst of pain, the symphony and the love brought the hearts of all into closest union. This glory is theirs forever. There is no lost good. We have seen on the battlefield gardens of beauty over the scarred earth, flower thoughts and emblems from all over the world. The pure white virgin lily, the flowers from dear home gardens of Germany, side by side with roses of England, thistles and the delicate shamrock. Finally, we see streams of energy set free by prayer for the departed on behalf of those who have left the body. How they thank you, for this is the sure way of thinning the veils between you and your loved ones. All nations meet on these same battlefields where God is working out the regeneration of Europe. In the midst of all is that purest white from which all color, note, and form is derived. And as life is poured out in rich streams, the souls long separated by time and by ignorance meet once more. Within the veil, the atmosphere of purity and peace throbs with holy joy. There are homes reestablished here. The lost are found. The pain of long silence is broken for many. From here the ministering ones go forth to teach and comfort the poor and the sad. Centers of healing at one with the river of life send out their streams of life-giving energy to your fainting earth. Look up, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth in you and through you forever. End of chapter. Chapter 27, The Soul's Freedom. Verse, He for whom there is neither this shore, nor that shore, nor both, he who is fearless and unshackled, him I call a wise man. He who has burst the bar and is awakened, him I call a wise man. If anything is to be done, let a man do it. Let him attack it vigorously. Buddhist scripture. The soul of the nation can never be free until the individual soul is free. But what does freedom mean to you? Unless it be real, the soul only exchanges one set of fetters for another. No man can be self-reliant and absolutely free until he has realized the one guiding principle of his life and sees that his place in the universe is God's place for him, and that no man is master of his thoughts and actions. This high self-reliance, however, does not mean a want of meekness or obedience. It even imposes on the soul great responsibility. True freedom does not mean a sense of isolation from the whole, but power to liberate the God forces in the individual soul. Liberty and equality on the plane of the senses have no real value. There will always be spiritual kings and princes. The elect of every nation call us continually to their high levels, only to lead us still onto loftier points of view and richer, deeper experiences of life. All is yours, for ye are God's, only when you become conscious of this. However, does your soul regain the sense of possession, an appearance of equality and brotherhood will never be sustained unless souls are united in the effort to manifest good. And just in proportion to the soul's grip of the divine consciousness will the degree of manifestation follow. The least in appearance may have wisdom and power in the soul sufficient to manifest as the greatest. The will and desire have not been active, although they have acquired experiences through many states of consciousness or lives. To reach perfect freedom, you must release the mind from all false and artificial methods of thought and be yourself. In your meditation, enter into the recesses of the soul and see what your possessions are. What has life meant to you individually? What are your plans regarding life? Are you making any difference to the inner map of the soul's journey? Are you making roads? There are vast undiscovered continents in the spiritual realm and in the realm of your soul. There is no hindrance to the soul who dares to take God at His word. We call to you from our side to go further, to come up higher. Seek, and ye shall find. The soul, freed from bondage, springs to the divine call. It dares not say nay to the voice of the Spirit. Arise, shine, for thy light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. Get thee up into the high mountain. The angels of God are round about you now. The ministry of the unseen is adding spiritual power to aid you. We walk in and out among you to serve and to bless. Be true to yourself, and all the universe will help you. The soul has longings and aspirations. Respond to these divine instincts. Do not let this day pass until you have begun the work now making itself clear to you. You know what that work is. Have you written your name in the book of life? Have you made any difference in your day and generation? Speak your own true word, and the nations will be lifted. Freedom is a divine right of the soul. You dare not limit the Holy One by representing the desire to rise and to be free. To know God and be free to express God is to enlarge the freedom of all. There is deep joy in obedience to the divine call, no matter where it leads. Leave all issues to God, who will make harmony out of seeming discord. This is the calm flow of the waters. When the brook overfloods its banks, it will find its level at the right time. The disturbance was good. It delivered the bedrock of the soul from stagnation. Freedom is for the sons of God, and only the free soul is joyous. End of chapter. Chapter 28. And I will dwell in the midst of them forever. And I will dwell in the midst of them forever. Ezekiel. I myself am a manifestation of the Supreme Being. Hindu scripture. The Master said, The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book on the old consciousness of vengeance forever. Love henceforth was to be the fulfilling of law, but I say unto you, love your enemies. Every incident in the life of Jesus is an importance to the student in the deeper Christian teaching. As soon as Jesus proclaimed the fact that he stood for a new order, for a consciousness of love and not of vengeance, his very non-resistance brought the whole populace against him in antagonism. So dangerous indeed had the physical plane become to him that he used higher laws to disappear from their midst. This was in order that he might finish his work of God manifestation, and later gave himself willingly as a sacrifice for the highest good of all. This will also be your way. You too will find that in everyday life to proclaim love is often to antagonize. It is the clash of the two states of consciousness, the old and the new. Love seeks the silent hidden ways of life, the deepest recesses of the human heart, that she may strengthen heart, soul, mind, and body from within. Love is swift, potent, electric, strong to deliver, yet listen, learn of me, says love, for I am meek and lowly. If all souls on the side of truth and righteousness were to send out a steady stream of love, embracing all the ends of the earth, there would be no longer any separation, the only enemy of the race. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Love will finally conquer. This is where we want to see your fighting instinct, on the side of love, where the sword of the Spirit, invisible but mightier than the mightiest physical force. You will certainly overcome your enemies with love, for you will find yourself in them. There will be no power to fight against you. Love of purity will be the great cleanser. Love will go down into the depths, lifting out the darkness into light. Love hopeth all things, believeth all things, never faileth, but will rise triumphant in your midst, and proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord through your life. Continue, ye in my love. Build with this spiritual fabric starting from the center of the universe and from yourselves. Let go the small personal self and realize the quest of all seekers, the great, the good, the noble. From the center, this wondrous life is ever setting free captive souls, bursting bonds of limitation, flowing outward to bless and to heal. Let all your thoughts yield to this divine inner urge, and you will flow through all life with that love that gives itself. In the giving, you will become an endless life. You may shine in the stars and glisten in a dewdrop, dance in the child and love in the youth. You will weep tears of healing with those who weep and comfort those who mourn. You are dead, and your life is hid with Christ and God. The time is come, which was spoken of by Isaiah, to loose the bands of wickedness, and let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy healing shall spring forth speedily. The Lord shall guide thee continually. End of chapter. Chapter 19. In heavenly love abiding. Love is the fulfilling of the law. As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. You will readily see that each soul is received here under conditions, and with the environment best suited to the exact stage of unfoldment. Some are ready for high spheres of service and quite understand how to use the forces at their disposal. They have always lived in the Spirit. They are joyful and at home. Every soul, high or low, goes to its own place. You are preparing your future state every day and hour. When the soldiers arrive here from the hospital and battlefields, they are taken to what appear to be to them the homes of the healing. All the surroundings are perfectly familiar, as the inner consciousness is ever producing the outer environment. The higher beings, in their wise love, meet just this need. They are apparently in beds with loving nurses and good doctors and attendants. There is music and brightness about them, and many happy reunions take place with old friends and comrades. The entrance is made joyous and friendly for all. They are not aware until much later that they are in another state of existence. Those who come to us as a result of shock and blindness have the keen joy of awakening, as if from sleep, to sight and sound reason. It is beautiful beyond words to watch the relief and gratitude in their faces as the horror of the past fades away like an evil dream. The helpers are able at once to send the thoughts into a new direction. The whole vibrations of the atmosphere tend to uplift and refine, transmuting the dense clouds of sense into sight and order, so that later the experiences and trials of earth may be seen as valuable aids and not as obstacles or hindrances. You can readily understand what this alone means, to have the eyes open and understanding reawakened. It is the divine in each and all which eventually sets us free. The heavenly helper who appears as a chaplain, priest, or pastor is always a being with great spiritual power, and he is able to convey the exact help needed in each case. By his strong spiritual power, he reaches the inner consciousness, and exfoliation begins. After this help, the man may shed the old false states of consciousness and develop the latent soul forces. This is the real essence and meaning of the words used by the psalmist, "The entrance of thy word giveth light and life." Afterwards, when they recover from the effects caused by the realization of their change of state, they are overjoyed. They slowly learn that they have not lost anyone dear to them, that death is the great illusion of the senses. I have heard them make many remarks of this kind. What rest, what peace! I never felt so fit in my life. I have seen these men later when they have understood something of the change, and how I wish you could see the serene expression on most of them. I heard one man say to a comrade, "There must be some truth in the old story about the waters of forgetfulness, for ever since I had the first bath in that river I have been a different man. I seemed literally to wash away all I wanted to forget. I mean to go straight now." They very gradually reach out for more light, and with every fresh illumination the soul ascends into larger planes of being. As soon as they are ready, they are granted the inner unveiling, the real cleansing, and it seems to them that they have washed away the old self. This, however, is the real self becoming evident. They become free to develop in every way. Some are delighted to find that they have plenty of time to follow a line of life from which they were diverted by the ignorance of parents or friends to be themselves at last. Here are men at rest in heart and mind about the future. They are aware only of the present and are sure of God. We see a great many, alas, hindered and drawn earthward by selfish grief or unwise love. These cannot rise. They are weighted down by the tears and sorrowing of those left behind. Though knowing that all is well, they are unable to help their loved ones through this knowledge. Set them free, and later they will help you far more really if they were in the flesh. They are quite near and see much of the home life. In the case of others, the relationships of earth are ended with the earth phase. As deep seeks deep, so some souls are drawn to their true spiritual relationship by the circle of love which has ever been about them, although invisible. The soul awakens in perfect freedom on the spiritual plane, and if you have used soul forces on earth, then they are your natural senses here. If you have only dimly perceived with the eyes of the soul, you will share with others in the work of unfoldment. It is much better to find heaven on earth, and thus be ready for all that awaits you on the plane of the spirit. I know by experience that you will regret lost opportunities and will long to return, while in the flesh set your affections beyond the material plane. It is the law of life to ascend. Lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. Send your rich thought and adoration to God during your life on earth. Subdue the flesh, and do not allow it to subdue you. Set aside everything that holds you down and press on in faith to the heights while you are still veiled in flesh. You must ever look upward and keep in mind your highest thought. Then will you find it true that when you awake, you will have the Christ likeness. End of chapter. Chapter 30. Bearing Much Fruit. Nor I, not anyone else, can travel that road for you. You must travel it for yourself. Walt Whitman. To evolve either on the spiritual or on the material plane is the same thing. It is to know more of God. In this knowing we make for simplicity, purity, and truth. We obtain light, ever-increasing light. It is not your beliefs that matter. You may believe a great many things about religion, but only the things of which the inner consciousness approves will ever be of any value to you. The soul possesses rich insight and delicate intuition. Again we urge upon you to follow only the divine innermost. It does not matter how large a body of people follow some special leading. You dare not do any other than to obey your guide. It is quite possible that you are a pathfinder, and you must take your first steps alone. But your affinities will soon gather about you and bless you for giving life to their ideals. The spokes of the wheel point in opposite directions, but they have one center. You will learn to act wisely with the individual to get the greatest good out of every opportunity by following the law of sequence. A voice or look will give the key to the character, and you will know how to help and serve in the highest way possible. God sets his mark upon every individual soul. The thoughts and secrets of the heart creates man's immediate environment. His imaginations are photographed into mind stuff emanating from the physical body. A movement, a gesture, a word, all these convey a message to the seer. The soul looks out through the eyes. No man can be hidden really. If you follow the Spirit's leading at the time it is given, that is a psychological moment both for yourself and for others. But if you delay, the guidance may cease to be the right thing for you. In that hour when the urge is upon you, Christ says, "Rise and follow me, for it is Christ who leads you." It is always a sequence of events that moves. In all these individual acts, you are making for greater, wider issues, and these acts fit into others until the moment is ripe for great action. And a little one shall become 1,000. Live and speak the things written in your heart, and you will set at library 1,000 others. As the Book of Wisdom reveals in these words, I said, I will water my best garden, and will water abundantly my garden bed, and lo, my brook became a river, and my river became a sea. Behold, that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek wisdom. As we have almost reached the end of these special messages, I emphasize very strongly this individual purity of soul. For what you are, your earth will be. End of chapter. Chapter 31. Death, the Great Illusion. Verse, And the dead whom you loved ye shall walk with, and speak with the lost. The delusion of death shall pass. The delusion of mounted earth, the apparent withdrawal. Ye shall shed your bodies in upward flutter to freedom. Stephen Phillips. There is a strong desire on this side to establish a festival day, when earth and heaven may meet and have sweet and conscious fellowship. This will not be possible unless you cooperate with us on this side and firmly hold in thought the desire to make the two worlds one, for those who are willing and ready. At certain times and seasons we can make ourselves felt and seen more than at others on certain days, such as on the anniversaries of good men and women who have come to us here. Independence Day is a call to loyal hearts on this side. The communion service is sometimes a meeting place for souls to acquire strength and self-realization, however. All Souls Day seems the most helpful to both sides, the vibrations on that day being finer and stronger, more spiritual and free from curiosity. By the transmutation of pure mental energy, your thoughts often reach us in truly beautiful forms. Intimate and sacred memorials are pictured before us. I have seen exquisite flowers form surrounding the loved ones here, also hands and eyes, filled with loving greeting, piercing the veils of illusion by pure love. The vibrations on both sides might be strengthened for our mutual joy and comfort. On such a day in the near future you will find that many will recognize their loved ones and know beyond all doubt that there is no separation. In the meantime, you need not wait to establish a method of communication with us. In this, as in all quests on the spiritual plane, do not follow the path of science. Trust only the intuitions, and you will not make mistakes. Science tabulates, explains, and reasons from knowledge perceived by the intuitions, good and valuable work, but always secondary. Your true genius is the intuitional personality, able to define in scientific terms, to give a reason for its vision in terms of time and space. Many earnest seekers fail in the quest because they start with preconceived ideas, and thus they themselves close the door to higher revelation. There are a great number on your plane trying to discover the laws of telepathy, but the mind is full of technicalities. They are seeking something that resembles the method of wireless telegraphy and thinking of receivers and transmitters. Indeed, they are looking for a system. Not for that higher revelation which is above science and system, and yet holds within itself laws both scientific and systematic. Seek first for truth and revelation, and leave the exposition to science and handmaiden of the truth. The message is not conveyed, since space is non-existence. It is pictured on the mirror of the soul. When you think from the center, your thought is at once creative and visible here. Our hope is that you will find a clue in photography, such as will establish beyond doubt and suspicion our presence in your midst. Some of this side has already tried to set up a code of electric flashes. If you on your side could prepare a sensitive plate, we should be able to give true impressions by actual word. It would be more satisfactory at this stage to give proof without the help of a medium, and so bring comfort and consolation to the bereaved. We have so far done good work through the kind help of mediums, but as you know, we have to wait days for the right condition, and then it often happens that the personality unconsciously intrudes. We can also make our presence known by sound. To do this we draw upon the physical magnetism. I have no hesitation in saying that it is best to follow the line of evolution, which means that if you can accustom yourself to obey your intuition, we will soon meet and talk together without publicity and with certainty, as the speech is between souls and this language is universal. In the meantime, for the help and comfort of the bereaved, we hope much for photography and the electric flash. Try at all times to set your heart towards God, who is sufficient for all the need of the world. By striving after this highest thought, by living each moment at your best, by loving and serving in every way possible to you, there opens up a path wherein the weaker souls may walk with safety. The doors open for fresh illumination, and the underworlds are stirred into aspiration and holy desire. You cannot live unto yourself. Every fresh expression of God carries the world forward. We see so much pain and sorrow on the earth just now, that a great effort is being made to lift the veils and reveal, in your very midst, an infinite world of light and love, the realization of which will enable the sorrow-stricken to feel that there are no more parting. The Lord shall wipe away all the tears by the comfort of sweet communion with the beloved. End of chapter. Chapter 32. They that go down to the sea in ships, these see the works of the Lord. I do not doubt that whatever can possibly happen anywhere at any time is provided for in the inherence of things. Do you think life was so well provided for, and death, the purport of all life, is not well provided for? Walt Whitman. Every soul is lovingly cared for at the moment of transition. Not one is missed. They are all helped at this time of need, whatever the physical condition may be. What is not generally known is the fact that often the passing is without fear and quite painless. In many instances, the soul glimpses the reality long before the change. Little children pass from love to greater love, and tired men and women to rest. There is high service for those who are ready, and loving ministry given to the unfit. God has a place for every soul, and it is the right place, where all that is good can flourish and develop. They are coming in large numbers from your plane in every condition, both from land and from sea. These brave men from the sea have their own way of coming to us, and we think it would help many to know about them, so we will tell you. When a vessel at sea is threatened with disaster, our helpers surround these on board in great number. They assume the appearances of every means of rescue known to man. As the spirit leaves the body, they are met with immediate help, as if rescued by material means. In most instances, they are not aware of the passing from the physical plane, and often wish to continue the fight if it is at a battle at sea. They are saved from shock by loving thought and preparation. I will explain this to you from the sailor's point of view. A great catastrophe at sea happens suddenly without warning. Apparently great numbers are fatally injured, drowned and killed by explosion. As the souls become released from the bodies, they see in all directions lifeboats manned by sailors coming to the rescue. Life belts, rocket apparatus, and every appliance of rescue appear. The souls are all helped and taken to a safe shore. They would tell you in almost every instance that they were not drowned or killed but saved. Those who have suffered prolonged exposure and have become impressed with the memory of pain and fear need rest. These are helped to quiet sleep. Many of our helpers ministering in various ways so that the awakening will be harmonious and gradual. We ask you to help them also by faith and a love that notes the falling sparrow and counts the very hairs of your head, that meets every need both for them and for you. God is all-sufficient, and love is everlasting, the Lord and giver of life. The broken bodies have often not had time to stamp the soul through the mind, and therefore many are quite unaware that the body is mutilated. Consequently, they appear whole. They are cared for in every particular and surrounded by infinite love. The work of attending to those who pass on is now a very big work. We need your cooperation in this way, that you seek peace and rest in God, and do not make the souls heavy by your grief. Later you will feel their presence and their very real help in your lives. For this work, some of our helpers have to materialize for a short time, as on the battlefield, and this accounts for their being seen by many on the physical plane. The cry of Britain has awakened your late king, and he has gone to his son. The great Duke is with your armies. Manifestations will follow. There is work for all in these coming days, and those who are ready are flocking to your aid. Pray for those who pass on, for prayer gives light in the valley of the shadow. It is a great comfort to them here to feel your loving remembrance. You still need each other's love. They have not changed in their love and longing for you. You may rise together to higher planes of being. End of chapter. Chapter 33. And nations shall come to thy light. Lo, I am the bonder and knitter together of spirits. I dispense with nations and shores. Stephen Phillips. Question. You said in one lesson that nations die to live again in greater strength and purity. How do you account for those great civilizations that have fallen into decay and absolutely ceased to be? Records of their high stage of development are all that we have. What about them? Well, this is a very natural question, as you do not see the resuscitation of these kingdoms, states, and continents. But there is a full and satisfactory answer from points of view that perhaps have a wider reach. In the life of the great master you see that above all things else, he is universal. His country was and is the whole world. Even those who had been to him, parents, brothers, close relations, were not any nearer or dearer than you or I, or any of whom you think. Their possession of him was really greater because of the wide outgoing love. But that was difficult for them to understand at their particular stage of development, as we see by the remark of the mother of Jesus. Thy Father and I have sought thee sorrowing. Jesus was God's divine idea for humanity, the eternal Christ. We also must become universal. There must not be any division or separation from the world, even by special earth ties. Almost the first words to a true disciple are, "Leave all and follow me." To him the world was father, mother, sister, brother, all lovers. There was a point of contact in him with all nations and people, and we cannot really connect him with any separate nation or people. He did not remain long in any one place. His loves and affections were universal. One good effect of this war will be to bring together the ends of the earth. Every cell in the mystic body is sustained by the lifeblood of the eternal Christ. The one great heart is the center of us all. If the hands are now outstretched in crucifixion by this war, they will yet meet in an embrace of reconciliation. Owing to this inner mystic relationship with all life, it follows that because of your right action, other parts of the body will be brought into order and harmony. If your heart beats in unison with the eternal heart, the rhythm of your life spreads and increases, actually starting into life inert cells and reaching ultimately to the outermost circumference. This is in order to bring the lost and separated into one fold. Now these nations and civilizations of which you are thinking have not ceased to be. They exist and are on this earth now, most of them. If you consider America and look beneath the seeming chaos of people, you will see there the emergence of a very old civilization and many extreme mental conditions. In the future, America will be the soul of the world, if she but keeps true to the spiritual force now working through her. The great mystics of pre-Reformation days are reincarnating there, and the fusion of the races is being effected for high purpose of evolution, that each may help the whole. Catholicism is side by side with agnosticism, and rationalists are in contact with the purest philosophies. There is also a reincarnation of initiates of old Egypt, and even of older peoples of whom you have scant record. These have now a purified intelligence, and will have much to reveal. Your nation has much to learn on the earth plane, but these old nations are bringing forward their knowledge into higher and purer forms. If America makes her separation, she loses power. Great beings are helping to keep the people from disaster just now. It is the cradle of the new race, and in the fresh consciousness great things are written for the future. You and they are one, and in the question of the colored races you will have to help. They have in their midst souls in the highest and lowest stages of evolution. There is no place on the earth plane where so many tides meet. May they all flow into the ocean of infinite and eternal love, all becoming attuned to the one center and source. Send out to them your thoughts of good. One good thought includes all good thought and touches God, making springs to appear in desert places and flowers to bloom in the garden of the soul. Hear the words of the inner Christ from the book of wisdom. I come out of the mouth of the Most High, and covered the earth as a cloud. I dwelt in high places, and my throne as in a cloudy pillar. I alone compassed the circuit of heaven, and walked in the bottom of the deep, in the waves of the sea, and in all the earth, and in every people and nation. I guarded possession. It is this life that lives in you, and it is creative now through the human consciousness. I look beyond the present phase, and I see a people regenerated, yet infinitely greater, and he that is greatest is still the servant of all. End of chapter. Chapter 34. He filleth all things with his wisdom. Verse, that the name of Christ may be exalted and glorified in us. We should follow him up the mountain of our pure reason. And in his name his Father, and heaven will open to us the living book of his eternal wisdom. John of Rysbrock. To the unseen eye, nature stops short in her symbolism. The law of periodicity running through all life sometimes bewilders the earnest student. You see the tree flourish, come to perfection and decay. The moon waxes and wanes, the heart expands and contracts. There are periods of fullness and of want. In religion and history and all life, there is the one supreme law. The cycles of life come to great heights and then seem to retrogress, but look deeper and first of all at the soul. In the great quest of life, in this seeking after the highest, the soul reaches out to its fullest capacity and becomes a creative force. It has touched God and man, henceforth the things of time and space are secondary. The soul has found its home, its work for humanity, at its highest stage in the present cycle. It now gives, and by its power to pierce the clouds of illusion, opens a way by which new light and life may issue. A pathway for other souls to follow ever upward and onward, when they too feel the divine urge of the soul. The tremendous vibrations of the present war are hastening the close of an old dispensation. This is also the sacrificial period. The world's cycles, when at the highest, are lifted into spiritual planes, just as the soul is. They also leave the seed thought. which becomes buried for purpose of growth. The retrogression is only apparent, for these zymotic periods in nature and the soul and all life produce the seed for fresh development, and the hiddenness of the seed is a time of gathering energy, force, and fullness. At the same time, the soul and the cycle begin to emerge in higher realms, and both the physical and the spiritual planes are enriched by every glean of the soul. Your earth is now preparing for a fresh unfoldment of the divine idea. All that is best, the noblest thought you can conceive, is now the seed, the beginning of that which shall be. There is no parting of the ways, no finality, but gradual development, and a time of darkness such as it is present is at the utmost value. Be strong in faith and patience, and thus nourish the hidden word. The idea of God is unfolded throughout the ages, from the most elemental stages to the highest intelligence of the present day. But you are only at the beginning. At every high period men rediscover, but with greater clarity, that which has always been evident from the beginning. In the story of Eden, the true meaning of the Godhead and the Trinity was clearly shown and yet wisely hidden. In Adam we see the Father symbolized, in Eve the divine feminine, the Spirit proceeding from the Father and the Word made flesh. Then at the greatest and highest period of that important cycle we see the Holy Family with a higher meaning. Focused in that group is the whole history of your earth, the beginning and the end. The divine feminine, the Spirit, brings forth the Christ of God, and until the Christhood of the race is reached, you will find all the guidance you need in that wondrous life. Jesus is a symbol of the highest and holiest to which we may attain. Like him, we shall see that we no longer need forms or personality to reproduce the life principle. In that great interval from God to God, the divine intelligence is unfolded in every human soul. You hold within yourself all that exists. There is nothing for you outside your own consciousness, but can you find room for that of which you are aware? The real you is formless, whereas even a speck of infinity would assume endless forms. In you is that great awareness, omnipotence, and omnipresence. By losing the self of the senses, you attain to the true center and source, but God must be perfectly expressed in every thought and act of your life, and in this faithful fulfillment of the Christ teaching, your consciousness grows and expands, until at its highest it moves to loftier planes and lives in other lives, leaving a trail of light for those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death. Help your world to get back to its center and source in every act of your life. As in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. End of chapter. Chapter 35, The Thought Within the Thought. Verse, God appears in the best thought, in the truest speech, in the sincerest action. Through his pure spirit he giveth health, prosperity, devotion, and eternity to the universe. He is the Father of all truth. Persian Scripture. The underlying, invisible cause or principle is absolute thought. How much do you know of thought? Really very little, but what you do know is of great unveiling. Behind all appearance, all phenomena is thought. The highest to which the soul attains is the divine thought within the innermost you, ever seeking expression. Your only conception of life is by means of thought. Try to realize its depth, beauty, and fathomless immensity. You may lose your outer personality 1,000 times, but the thought, the real you, persists and takes many ventures. It is, as you perceive, both masculine and feminine, and is creative. The true artist makes room for the divine thought and expresses to some extent the beauty of the Lord. The poet feels the surge of this illuminating pure thought and tries to utter its harmonious cadence. We feel it at the basis of all our mental processes. It is always ours, though only in deep meditation do we draw fresh supplies. The chief door which closes against this pure thought is selfishness, which is destructive to the noblest and the best. We are in the way of truth and life according as we express the highest thought we feel and become the best we perceive. Knowing God as absolute thought, we see that Jesus the Christ manifests the divine idea for all humanity. Well may he be called the firstborn Son of God, being the most perfect expression of this absolute thought and identified with the transcendent consciousness of the great I Am. Here we can feel a life which is in all. Alas, that in so many there is but the faint thought of God. What is it that calls forth our deepest devotion and adoration? It is that consecrated thought within. No sacrament or church can do more than draw the soul towards this all-satisfying thought, for it contains every possibility and power of life. You cannot conceive of existence without thought. The very rocks and stones have a form of consciousness and are permeated by this living thought. It is vital, quickening, and it builds continually. How do you express love but by the thoughts of your heart? Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are all the issues of life. Love is the supreme center of this absolute thought. Not yet have we the capacity to receive its full meaning. Love never fails. It is constructive and is expressed by thought. What is duration but continuous thought? You are going to learn much more about this in the coming days. There are days when your whole nation is transformed, buoyant, thrilled with the might of illumined thought. It is an ocean wherein souls dwell. We may launch out into the deeps of God and fear not. Read the Gospel of St. John, the first 18 verses, and you will feel the glory of pure absolute thought, as did this great mystic disciple of the Master. Feel it finding its highest expression, but always emerging clear and pure. On our side we are getting fresh gleams arising from your plane, and these prove to us that you have glimpsed the meaning of the solitary of the race as never before. But you have obtained only a glimpse. There are infinite possibilities in store for us all. We have to reveal God to the world to respond to that holiest, highest thought within us on both planes. Be of good cheer, I have overcome the world, said the purest one. When you put away the false conception of God, the truth arises in the soul. The ground is holy. I speak with profound humility and reverence when I say that you are on the threshold of great discoveries, which are profoundly satisfying, clearing the mind of all idea of God as a personality thinkable to finite mind. What of this highest thought in relation to prayer? We can hold the dear ones for whom we pray in this same thought, and so learn God's will for them. And by the swift potency of this innermost thought, we can touch the depths of their being with blessed help and healing, for all life is one. Be swift to obey that delicate inward thought. It conveys to us the trinity of existence, light, life, and love, and is our real substance. You have known so little of the true meaning of absolute pure thought, for it has been veiled in wisdom. Out of thought all existence, all truth, all reconstructive processes emerge. We cannot confine it in terms of time and space. As we apprehend more of its might and majesty, its indestructible essence, we are led a step farther, and we know that the thought will reveal the thinker. End of chapter. Chapter 36. The Son of Man must suffer many things. Verse. And which of us is not long with his whole soul that the sorry scheme of things, which we used to call civilization, may be shattered and reconstructed to nobler ends? Omar K. Let the dead bury their dead. What is that to thee? Follow thou me. This is one of the greatest mystic utterances of the Master. And as the disciple progresses in the spiritual life, he discerns a wonderful meaning for and within himself. You have now finished with the plane of falsity, finality, ignorance, and death. What is it to thee? You are not to have any concern with sin and disease. That has no root in your own consciousness. The Christ consciousness is absolute and sinless. As I have often tried to show, there is much unnecessary suffering of no value in the evolution of the soul. On the plane of the senses, there are many false conditions which you would do well to ignore. They will pass like the mist from a mountain peak. Many good men have suffered for things of no importance, and so stamped false values in the mind. These things belong to finality and death. You can remove them from your environment by the strong word. There are trees which do not bear fruit. The life within you shall speak the strong word whereby they wither and die. There are growth without root, that will of themselves wither and decay. Sins and disease born out of false thoughts, these have no depth, no soil. They have not touched the Christ consciousness in you. That which is true substance is eternal and abiding. Be ye steadfast and immovable. Be godlike. Look through things. Do not judge by appearance, and you will find that many of these sins and diseases are born of the fleeting emotions of the false mentality. They are without form and void. You are in the quest of God. It is an open quest to find the infinite behind form and finite modes. The only initiation for this great and holy task is a right attitude towards life with its manifold experience. In each and every task, the soul is quickened for the perception, deeper spiritual insight. By the consciousness of the presence, you are upheld and you realize, however dimly, that the present phase is the most valuable period for the development of the creative forces within, that your bodies may be perfect instruments for the expression of the divine idea, the true self. The true birthplace of the living principle is in the heart. Out of the heart, by the strength of the living word, we can dispel the mist and shadows. You ask if a man can go into this war for the sake of righteousness, in defense of the weak, and still keep his faith with God and man. The men forced to take weapons and fight are guiltless, unless they have hatred in their hearts. There are many who are guilty, and those future will be a long cleansing for this present war. They will have to give account to life for those sins done in the flesh, but if a man has a clean soul, and goes as a willing tool for the cause of truth and righteousness, as far as he knows, he has nothing to fear, for him all is well. The issues are in God's hand. The inner meaning of these words will unfold in the soul as you read. A great many have found the highest self through these same experiences. He makes even the wrath of men to serve his highest purpose. He rides upon the storm. The greatest forces of life are silent. They are not guns or ammunition. The infinite truth are conveyed without words. The real war is within, and true peace can come only by victory in the soul. This is a time of darkness, but in it many are finding the light of life, and out of the void cometh the all. We see things so differently here. Those whom the world calls sinners are often great in soul and unselfish in their lives. Listen to the Master, judge not, and look for the true personality. Build your thoughts upon this one foundation of us all. This is spiritual healing for individuals, communities, and nations. There is good and pure desire in every nation on the earth, and you cannot be right while any others are suffering. The Son of Man still suffers many things in us all. By helping the whole of humanity, you are really helping your own country, not otherwise. God is over all and in all. There is no distinction of race in the eternal mind. The judgment bar of God is within you. And if you can feel there that the motive is true self-sacrifice, then you go to defend the right of all men. Then for you all is well. Life is indestructible. To harm the soul is a far more serious matter than to kill with a sword. It is really impossible to kill life. Men of all creeds and races quickly associate in perfect friendliness here. The fellowship of their suffering has made them one. That I may know the fellowship of his suffering has been realized here. There is one beautiful home of healing where some of the greatest misunderstandings on earth have been healed by divine love and compassion. And these healed souls are seeking means of spreading their deep knowledge of life to you on earth. Those who are in the throes of ignorance will certainly feel the ministrations of these awakened souls. We are hoping soon to have many centers combining every form of thought on earth and unified in love. It is truly delightful to see their enthusiasm and keen desire to return and share this harmony of spirit with you all. Suffering is never far from joy. End of chapter. Chapter 37. There are celestial bodies also. Verse, let us adore the supremacy of that spiritual Son, the Godhead, who illuminates all, who recreates all, from whom all proceed, to whom all must return, whom we invoke to direct our undertakings aright in our progress towards his holy seat. Hindu Scripture. We are children of light. Let your light shine before men, and so glorify the Father of light, in whom is no variableness, no shadow made by turning. I have so much more to reveal than there is language wherewith to express it. I long to speak in the language of heaven, soul with soul, but this is not quite possible for most people. Still I desire above all else that you may yourself open the closed doors of the senses and look into the interior worlds. If you catch but a glimpse, it will kindle in you that exhilaration and aspiration so necessary to the climber towards spiritual heights. Here is there, and there is there. In yourself alone is the one door that opens to heaven and God. Knock, and it shall be opened. Seek, and you shall find. Then blessed are ye. The whole trend of life is Godward. You see the rays of the sun, how they reach far out. But they are not separated from the sun. They are withdrawn to shine forth with great brilliancy. The rays are always there, but the sun is the center and source. If you do not realize your true life in the ray, get a glimpse of the sun of your soul, the light from your consciousness, and new desire shall come to birth within you. There are spheres of being where all is light and love, But the angels who inhabit these spheres do not understand this pure bliss, because it is their natural element. When the appointed hour arrives, however, they will descend the ladder of life to darkness and sorrow. And through this knowledge shall they come to know the ineffable and inexpressible joy. They will reascend the ladder one step at a time, each step highly significant, and so become godlike, angelic men and women. There are other spheres into which no inharmonious vibrations can penetrate, for they would be broken at the threshold. These are painless spheres from which we descend to sorrow and grief, that we may know, through this experience, our own divine pure nature and our true element. We who have dwelt in that one will that radiate light and love, and that makes harmony, have to learn that we are theophanies, to live consciously in the will of God, and to bring into creativeness the light, love, and harmony of pure existence. We become acquainted with grief, we are afflicted and suffer loss, that light and love may be brought to the uttermost circumference, that mortals may know immortality and consciously enjoy God forever. We come ever through suffering to joy. We may not say it is finished until we have touched the depth of human experience and given ourselves for the good of all. Then do we reascend, children of light, having glorified our Father which is in heaven, and possessed of the capacity for discriminating joy and wisdom. For in our earth experience we gain the knowledge of the glory of God, and henceforth, with bodies luminous and celestial, we dwell in light, for the Lamb is light. We make the sacrifice of self on the altars of life. The truth of evolution lies hidden in the story of Jacob's dream. By this war you are being awakened out of materialism, and there is to be a fresh descent into your plane of a wider and fuller consciousness of God, which will raise the whole earth out of sleep and inertia. Many of the souls who have come to us suddenly will reincarnate soon, as there is no better plane for their unfoldment than the earth. There is valuable experience to be gained on the earth plane, a true beginning for the very highest that is possible to the personality, after which the evolution is of a different order and holds high responsibility. As we begin the steps of ascent, memory dimly returns. Every rung of the ladder gives us back our powers with double blessedness until we hear the word, "Enter now into the joy of your Lord." This is true of every human soul. The lowest hell is materialism, inertia or the sleep of the soul, as typified by Jacob. The intelligence being content to rest on stone. Follow the pure reason of the intuitions, and you will receive the key that will open the book of divine wisdom. Free yourself from the false sense of limitation, and measure yourself by the great thought that fills all space. For ye are Christ's, and Christ is God. To be a Christian means that to you has come the great anointing, the chrism, and you are now in the very deed a Christly soul, ready to wear the yoke and to bear the burdens of the weary and heavy laden. Let love shine forth in every word and action of your life. Fulfill the law of Christhood, and breathe out peace and goodwill to all men. Lowly and meek-hearted, ye shall be as the shade from the heat, and a wellspring of living waters to thirsty souls. There has never been a greater or grander opportunity for Christians than the present to show forth the love which passes knowledge, and to heal the heartaches of the sorrow-stricken. This little book is to remind you of your calling and election, which is to do the will of Him who sent you forth, strong to bless, to heal the sick and cast out all false conditions, by awakening the soul to know the truth that sets us all free. End of chapter. Chapter 38. They shall go no more out. Inherit the kingdom prepared. Since the foundation of the world it is finished. I have finished my course. I will give thee a crown of life. This is the last chapter of the present series, and as we leave these thoughts with you, may we remind you of our unceasing cooperation in every effort towards the fulfillment of these inner spiritual laws. Even as you read these words, the atmosphere about you is full of spiritual beings, the heavenly ministers ready to do His will and pleasure. And it is His pleasure to give you this kingdom, that you may also serve Him, not alone and unaided, but with a mighty host that ministers to Him day and night. This spiritual world interpenetrates your very bodies, partaking of the same rich life. For we are all members one of another in a very real sense. You are never alone, never isolated from life. Thousands of hearts are beating in unison with yours. Comrades are close at hand. There are friends and lovers all about you. You may sit in silence and become conscious of these things. Your soul can be in heaven and enjoy the closest communion with the holiest and the highest. In the hour when the temptation to sadness and loneliness is upon you, look up and rejoice. The Lord is nigh, and the dear family ones are with you. The little child comes again to play at your knee. The mother reaches out her hands in loving guidance. The lover and the beloved are one. The laws of life are so perfect that every step towards the center may be in itself a radiant dwelling place. But the soul ever seeks its true home, and if faithful, shall at the end of life's experience receive the crown of life, which is the pure existent, and become as a pillar to serve the highest purpose. All the days of his pilgrimage being ended, he shall go no more out. We have all been prodigals and dwelt in the faraway consciousness, but we return and become sons and daughters greatly beloved. God comes out to meet us in this earth experience. Draw nigh unto God. Bring heaven to earth with its peace and goodwill to all men. Your dimmed vision is the only barrier between us. We walk and talk with you and help you in all your striving Godward. The stricken on the fields of battle are lovingly cared for by those both in and out of the body. In all their afflictions he is afflicted, but the angel of his presence saves them. The hearts broken are gently healed, if they but hold on to the unseen and the eternal. There is one in your midst, so near, who feels a sigh of pain. He wipes away all tears. There are days of peace at hand, when all shall rest from the strain and the anguish. The dawn, with its purity and cleansing, shall break upon the earth. Look beyond the present to the rich reward of your sacrifice, and you will see the Son of Man making new path for your feet, a highway for the sons of men, room for the stranger and alien to dwell together as brothers. This is no dream. The day is at hand when men shall work with pure motives, and life become possible to the weakest, as well as to the strongest. For the weak shall he carry by the strength of the strong. True cooperation in every walk of life has already begun. Even during these latter months there have been swift changes on your earth. It will soon be impossible to reject the thought of a future life or of our nearness to you. We are able to reach you now as never before. But for our help, you would have known defeat and much greater suffering. The great aim and object is to obtain the utmost good for all the nations of the earth out of this terrible war. And if the issue seems prolonged, the reason is that you are not yet ready for peace. The time is not ripe for the good of all. You must prepare for peace as earnestly as you prepared for war. See that the enemy within the gates disintegrating the true manhood and womanhood of the race. The real salvation of your country depends upon its inner purity of will and desire. The forces that make for the destruction of a nation or a people are not the forces of war, terrible as they are. Put away the drink and cleanse your hearts. Make room for purity and truth. Look out on life with love and goodwill towards all men. These are the things that make a nation great for all time. You must prepare most earnestly for peace. End of chapter. End of book. This audio presentation of Spiritual Reconstruction by Mary Bruce Wallace has been brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2013. All rights reserved.